Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha. This is the Kohen. Well, we're going to speak about the Shabbat. The Parsha today is Parsha's Mattot and Maseh. So before I get into it, today our technique is going to be about scripting. How best to script and how best to bring results, how it affects different people, how different people's techniques have different results. I think that's an important area that we need to cover. Now, Parsha's Mattot is about an oath. In the book of Numbers, chapter 31, it says, Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, This is a thing which Yahweh has commanded. If a man vow a vow to Yahweh or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. If a woman also vows a vow to Yahweh and binds herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow, and her bond wherewith she has bound her soul, and her father shall hold his shalom at her, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she has bound her soul shall stand. But if her father disallows her in the day that he hears not any of her vows, or of her bonds wherein she has bound her soul, shall stand, and Yahweh shall forgive her because her father disallowed her. And if she has at all a husband, when she vowed or uttered anything out of her lips, wherein she bound her soul, and her husband heard it, and held his shalom at her in the day that he heard it, then her vow shall stand, and her bonds wherein she bound her soul shall stand. Okay? So, essentially, what this is saying, that when you as a person, man or woman, when you come before Yahweh and you make a bond, you make a vow, you say something, you desire something, and you offer something in return. People come before God and say, give me $1 million and I'll give you $100,000 back, that's 10%, or I'll give you $200,000 back, that's 20%, which is what's actually due. Or if you, say to God that on top of that, I will make a equivalent offering of a bull, $5,000 worth, maybe 2 bulls, $10,000. So your total outlay is $210,000 for $1 million lottery, for argument's sake, or inheritance or something, and you end up getting something like $790,000 richer. So these are vows which are very, very powerful, very, very powerful vows. We are instructed either not to make them, or if we make them, we must follow through with them. In other words, we don't break them. A lot of people, what they do out there, they make the vows, and then 2 months later, 3 months later, they go by the wayside and the vow is broken. And there are repercussions, there are offerings that you have to make when you break a vow. But I have not come this day to a person who actually sent, I think except one person, many people who made a vow, Nazarene vow, and they did all sorts of other vows, and they never paid the penalty. So their karma will carry. This karma will carry, okay, to the next family member, the children. So here it's very important to understand that what is a vow? A vow is an agreement between you and God. It's like a contract. It's a contract or a covenant in which you sign a deal and you write it down. You don't just speak it, you write it down. You write down the vow, dear Lord, dear God, or dear God of Abraham, I'm making this vow with you that if you do for me X, Y, and Z, then I will do for you A, B, C. And it shall stand forever, and it shall be. And then you sign your vow with your name, and you can hold somebody as a witness, like myself, Rabbi Kefa. You can hold us as a witness, and you can put my initials there, RSAHK, and that's enough. That's a vow. That's bound. That is now confirmed. That cannot be broke. That must be fulfilled one way or the other. God must do His part on your vow for you to receive your part. I gave you a testimony last week of a student of mine, and I told you that she had some issues with the government, some outstanding monies that they were not paying her, and there was nothing that she could do. No amount of affirmations were helping her. Nothing was working. She came to me, and I told her, take a vow. Set a vow in place that when you get the money, you will give 1 or 2 lamb, I think I said lamb offerings, equivalent offerings in place, and then whatever your 10-20% is, you'll give that, and you will get out of this debt that you incurring with the government. So she did do that. She set a vow. She did it exactly as I told her. She wrote it down, put the initials, put my initials, and away she went. And 3 weeks later, boom, her vow is complete. The government released her money. Everything just worked out fine. So this is how powerful vows are. They cannot be taken without, they cannot be taken, they cannot be underestimated. The power of a vow is extremely, extremely powerful, because it is God's responsibility to fulfill a vow, not a person's responsibility. If God does not do His part, then of course you do not do your part. It's no sin not to do that. If God does His part, you must do your part. That's a vow, basically. So we see this happening, and it was a great, a lot of people did this. You know that in the Bible we hear stories of different people making vows. We hear the story of Samuel's mother, Hannah, who went to make a vow for Samuel. She said that, if a son is born to me, I will leave him here, and he will serve you in your house. And so that's what she did. And don't think to yourself that she only went one time. She went more than one time over there to make that vow. Now, question came, what about if a vow, if midway, like, I don't know, today you write a vow, and 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, you decide you want to make an amendment. So the answer is this, that you can make an amendment, do exactly the same thing, make the amendment, change the details, sign it, and put it away. Put it away in the north side of your house, in one of your north side of your cabinets, picture holders or something, place it there. That is how you're supposed to place your vow if you want to bring it to pass. And vows always come to pass. They never ever fail. It doesn't matter what amount you're asking for. It doesn't matter what is your deal. It doesn't matter if it's a court case. It doesn't matter if it's money. It doesn't matter if it's lottery jackpot. It doesn't matter what it is. Vows will always fulfill. That is God's domain. He's promised that He will fulfill the vow. So I encourage you that whenever you are stuck and you find that your affirmations are going nowhere, that you're struggling and things are not happening, you switch it into a vow. Things will start to rock and shake. Okay? Things will rock and shake, and then you will see plenty of benefits in your life. The other thing I think is very important is scripting. Scripting has many forms. There are many forms of scripting that you might find on the internet, you might find written in books. Every person is different when it comes to scripting. So we cannot say that one form of scripting will work for another person. So scripting is such a technique that when you apply it, there are a number of techniques to apply. First technique of scripting. In the first technique of scripting, you do scripting every day for 66 days. Continuous, no break. Count 66 days and do it for 66 days. And then after 66 days, you assess your situation. Whatever you were asking for, has it come in? Are there any changes? If there are not, you give yourself a break and you start again at 66 days. Myself, I prefer the scripting of 22 days. 22 is the alphabet of the Hebrew. I prefer 22 days of scripting, and I prefer to take an 8 days break, 8 or 9 days, depending on if it's a 30th month or a 31st month. You take that 8 days break, then you start again until that thing you desire comes in. So that's the second type of scripting. The third type of scripting is where you do 15 days of scripting on and 15 days off. And you continue to do that until it manifests a desire. The fourth type of scripting is quite an interesting one. It's what I call the 33-3 method, almost like the Tesla method, the 369. So in this, what you do, you write a desire, a single desire, 33 times. You speak, you write it for 3 days, and you speak it for 33 times as well. Once you've written that desire, you speak it out 33 times, facing the direction of the west, east, or the north. And if you can't manage it, then south is okay as well. If you can't, for some reason, you have to face the south, then it's okay. You can do it south. So you do that 33 times, writing one single desire for 3 days. You then give yourself 3 days break. Nothing happens. Give yourself 3 days break. Start over. Continue until it comes to pass. Now you can do more than one desire. You don't have to nest desires. You can simply do 133.3 for one desire and another 33 for another desire. Means you can have 2 desires going at the same time with 33.3. Okay? Now the 33, the important part in that is you speak it with emotions. When you speak it, you're going to have to generate some feeling. What is a feeling? Feeling is emotions. And feeling is also, as I explained to you, is touch, sound, smell, visualization, those kind of things. So in this emotion, the emotion you want to create is of sound. You speak sound, feelingly. You must put your feeling in there. Some people may cry. Some people may laugh. Some people may be melancholy. Whatever sound rocks your boat, you do that sound to make that feeling come to pass. You do it 33 times daily. You write 33 times for 3 days and you speak it 33 times for 3 days. Forget about the direction for a moment. It doesn't matter whether you're facing north, south, east, west. Just speak it loud. And if you've got people sitting in the room, then speak it in your mind loud, in your mind as well. So no one can hear it except you. So that is another form of scripting. Okay? So again, to reiterate, the first part of scripting was 66 days non-stop. Take a few days break, start again. Second part was 15-15. 15 days on, 15 days off. Third part was 22 days on, 8 days off. The fourth part, 33 times script, speak it 33 times, take 3 days, do it for 3 days, then take 3 days off, then start again. That is the only scripting that you are going to need to do to bring in your manifestation. You do not need to do any other type of scripting. However, there is another type of scripting that I highly recommend to everybody. That is, you pick up an index card. You get these different index cards, 5 to 4 inch, 5 by 4 inch, 4 by 4 inch, 3 by 4 inch. One of these big index cards, and you write your best goals that you want, your best desires. You want to be a millionaire, you want to buy a new car, you want to buy a new house, you want to have money in the bank, you want to have great health, you want a great spouse, things like that. Those goals you write on a piece of card. You take it on the front of the card, you write your 8 or 10 goals that are very important to you, and you're going to speak those 3 times a day, every day, 3 times a day for 4 days a week. So the fourth type of scripting that I highly recommend, that I use myself as well, is what you do. You take an index card, you put your 10, it doesn't have to be 10, you can even put 20 goals on there. You can write both sides of the card. And you can put 10 to 20 goals on there that you really want to bring into your life. And you start speaking those 3 times a day. You put your card in your wallet or in your pocket, you take it out, and boom, you speak it 3 times a day. It's active. You can put a task on your telephone, on your smartphone, and it reminds you, hey, you got to speak your task, and you speak it. You speak their task Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days a week. Now, I suggest you can take 3 days off. You can even speak it Friday. Speak it Friday too. And you can take Saturday, Sunday off if you desire. But whilst you're speaking those, there's another element to it. When you speak those, you close your eyes and you imagine them as well. In other words, your imagination will run morning, afternoon, evening for those things. Nested manifestation, nested imagination. You go from one imaginative act to the other. So you speak those, if you started Monday, you'll do them morning 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And then you do your 3 imaginative acts, then you stop. And the next day the same, the next day the same. And you can carry it all the way to Friday. I sometimes do it for 4 days and I take 3 days off. Sometimes I carry it to Friday and I do it for 5 days and I take 2 days off, and then I start Monday again. That is a very powerful way to keep your focus on. Remember, I spoke about being faithful and loyal to your vision. That is the point of this exercise. You are faithful and you are loyal to your vision. Your imaginative act, all it does, it cements it. You continue to tell yourself what you want, and you don't get distracted by nasty friends, nasty relatives, naysayers, doom gloomers, things like that. Now remember, I told you that I decided a week ago I'm not going to look at the news. I don't care where the world goes. World can go to hell. I don't care. So I stopped looking at the news a week ago, and I've just focused on my goals. And what I found pleasantly is that I do not have this, wake up in the morning, look at the news and get all the negative news in my headset. in my head and then be thinking about those. I don't have that now. Now I wake up in the morning, I do my goals, I write my script, I speak my script, and my day goes beautifully. Beautifully. No news, no nothing. The only thing that I ask my Google Assistant for, the only thing is what is the weather today? That's the only thing I ask it. And that's about all the thing I need to know. And so I don't do anything else. I don't look at the news. I've removed all the news sites. Every news app that I had on my phone is gone. I don't have it. I guess the only one that's left is Google News. But because I have Google Pixel phone, they keep putting their news on. I don't even look at it, to be honest. I don't look at it. And I just simply removed all the apps so I don't keep getting updates and all this blah, blah, blah nonsense. I don't need it. I don't care. So I want to focus on my life. I want to focus on my goals. I want to focus on what is important to me. So that is me, the Kohen. I suggest highly to you that you do the same thing. It's a very, very powerful thing. When you imagine 3 times a day, even for 5 minutes each, and you run this speech, you're going to create a very powerful vortex. You're going to start shifting and changing and shaking the heavens. Things are going to move for you, but you're going to have to do it. It's an execution issue. If you execute, you will receive the results. So that is one type of scripting. The other thing that you can do is you can use a water technique. In the water technique, you take a glass of water and you write, take a little printout. And on the printout, you should have some of your affirmations. I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I am in great health, and other affirmations. You write on a white piece of paper, you print it out, and what you do, you place it on the outside of the glass that you use to drink water, and your glass should have the characters showing inside. You could tape it on the outside of the glass. Glass bottle, whatever you have there that you use for drinking water. And then you fill that glass with the water, so the effects of affirmations goes into the glass. And you can speak them as well. When you place that water in the glass, you can speak those affirmations into the water, because the water has memory, it can store it, and when you will speak it, it will store it. And when you drink it, it will go into every cell of your body. And that is a very powerful technique as well to internalize the affirmations. One thing I highly favor with these scripting pads, you can get these scripting pads from Walmart or maybe, some other stores, Staples, and they usually have 5 different levels, 5 different leaves. And you can have, 5 different levels of scripting in there. And I find them really good. I brought them over here. And I think that you should use those from Walmart. They're inexpensive. They may be about $3, $4 a piece. They're quite thick books. They have 5 sections, and you can write 1 section per your affirmation. It works really great. The other good way to use a scripting is to write your affirmations and place them in different areas of your house. You may want to place a couple on your bathroom window, maybe one in your living room, maybe in your kitchen, on the fridge. So these are areas that you'll be frequenting almost every day, and you'll be able to read those as you pass by them. And the water technique, when you write it on the water, on the glass, on the inside of the paper that you place on the outside of the glass, and you fill the glass and you can read your affirmations in there, and then you drink the glass, and that will affect every cell of your body. Now remember, we spoke about this a number of times, that the whole thing needs to be done feelingly, because feeling is the secret. Feelingly, with faith, is really, as we spoke about a number of times, is to touch something, to feel something in our five senses, to hear the sound, to hear maybe the smell. That will work for you. So as I was saying, the other great way is to put affirmations, on a piece of paper, print them out on a piece of paper, cut out that piece of paper, and then put it in different places of your house where you will be visiting daily, and you'll be looking at those, and they'll be in front of you, and you can read them, and they'll be right around you. And that's another great way to build yourself up with scripting and affirmations. And of course, there's a recommendation that you put a vision board. I don't think you need to put a vision board. All you need to do is the thing that you desire the most. Most of you have telephones, smartphones, and many of you have laptops and tablets. The best thing to do is that the thing that you desire the most, that's your, maybe what I might call the top manifestation, put it on your laptop screen as a background screensaver. Put it on your mobile phone or your tablet. That's the other way to get a focus, because remember, the idea for us is that we keep our focus on the thing that we want. So our focus don't move away. In other words, it's what we call loyalty to your faith. So we want to be loyal to our faith, and we want to keep that focus. One of the things that most people struggle with, that I seem to notice, is this, that they may desire $100,000, maybe $500,000, maybe even $500 million. They desire big money, but their mind, 1 minute their mind is, yes, I want to have that $500 million. And the next minute, their mind goes into, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I don't think I'll get that money. Oh, I think it's too hard for me. Oh, I think I've set a too big a target. So your inner mental conversation turns into negative conversation. So the roads that you are building, all the roads that you've been building with scripting, with affirmation speaking, with, the water drinking, all those techniques that you're doing, now you're destroying them. You're destroying those roads that you built over several days by just your mental talk. Because your mental talk says that you can't be, that you can't have, that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy. In other words, you have a limiting belief system. And the limiting belief system needs to be removed. In order for your successes to come, the limiting belief system must go. If it don't go, you are going to find it really, really hard to struggle to make ends meet. Because everything you're doing, if your limiting system don't go, you're going to find that you're creating negative after a positive, and you're destroying your manifestation. So when people ask me, oh, I've been doing this for 1 year and I haven't got anything, why? It's because they're destroying it by their limiting beliefs, by their mental conversations that go, as I explained to you, be like, oh, maybe I'm not deserving it, maybe I'll never win the lottery, maybe it's not for me, maybe I'm not meant to be a millionaire. Those kind of talks will destroy your foundation that you built. So in order to cover those foundations, the best thing to do is to record something small, not necessarily have to be big, something small like maybe a 5-minute, maybe a 10-minute inner mental conversation. Record it in an audio. And it simply basically says things like, I am worthy, I am great, I am deserving. I deserve to be a millionaire. I deserve to have a beautiful house. I deserve to have a nice car. I am successful. I am riches. So when you record that for 5 minutes even, and you listen to it infrequently as you get the chance to listen to it, you're going to find that this is going to change your world entirely. It's going to change your world view. You're no longer going to be the person who's always criticizing yourself, because remember, your worst enemy is you. You are your worst enemy, and you got to deal with yourself. When you deal with yourself, your worst enemies are not out there. Your worst enemy is inside your home, and that is you. So you got to deal with you. You got to compete with you. You got to tell yourself that you are capable, that you can do it, that it is possible. Hence why you have those things on the mirror, the affirmations that tell you that you're great, or that tell you that you are riches, or I am riches, I'm successful, I'm enough. I'm a businessman, I make millions of dollars in businesses. All those things that you got to do. When you have done those, you will never look back. Your mental talk will be in control. And if you ever find that your mental talk astrays, as some people does astray, when you find that your mental talk astrays, then you got to deal with it, and you got to, at that point, bring yourself back and say, this is just my memory. This is just my talk. This is not me. I am not those thoughts. This is just those thoughts. I can deal with it. That's why it's important to do that. Let me read out to you something that Neville Goddard said. I think it's quite kind of worthy to listen to. Neville Goddard said this: there is no limit to your creative power. The most horrible problem will be resolved if you will but conceive a solution in your mind's eye. Anyone can do it. It doesn't take an Einstein to imagine a problem is resolved. Do not limit your creative power by determining the ways and means for it to come about. For imagination has at its disposal ways that are past finding out. Do not be concerned as to how, when, or where, only the end. If you are in debt, what's the solution? That you win the lottery, or an uncle dies and leaves you a fortune? No. The end is that you are debt-free. How would you feel if all of your bills were paid? Assume that feeling and let imagination harden that feeling into a fact. Every problem has a solution. Imagine the solution and assume it is true. What would you see and do were it true? How would you feel? Persist in that feeling. In a way no one knows, the solution will come to pass. I think that's a very, very wise saying by Neville Goddard. Very wise. And that's where you need to be. So it's important to understand that the lottery win is not the solution to everybody's problem. If you want to buy a house, the solution isn't to win a lottery. You want to buy a house. You want to have enough money. Somebody gives you the money, or money comes from somewhere, and you get a house. If you want to get a car, the solution is not you win a big lottery to get a car. Millions of people buy cars, but they don't all win lotteries. They go and get a car. So these are the things I think we do need to understand, that yes, the lottery winning does have a place in society. It does have caveats. Yes, some people can win the lottery and it's great. It's great if you win the lottery. No problem about that. But it should not be and all and end about lottery. Should not be. And this is the problem. And the problem is this, that a lot of people are not faithful to their imagination. A lot of people are not faithful because they are not, they are not loyal. Loyalty is a great word. Unfortunately, Western people generally find it extremely difficult to be loyal to something. They're not loyal to their jobs. They're not loyal to their bosses. They're not loyal to their spouses. So, generally, American people, Western people generally, they have an extreme issue with loyalty. Very few people are loyal, and majority just want to run around all over the place. One person's not right, jump to the next. Next person's not right, jump to the next. One job's not right, jump to the next. One church is not right, jump to the next. There's no loyalty. Loyalty is not taught in the society, but the loyalty is the most important thing for your success. In imaginative acts, in what you desire to have, loyalty is number one. if you are number one in your loyalty, if you can practice it, if you can stick to it, if you believe it, you believe yourself it is possible, then nothing can stop you from having it. You must know what you want, and you must be loyal to it. That is critical, and that is key. Let me give you another one of Neville's quotes, which I think is good for this time. To be conscious of being poor while praying for riches is to be rewarded with that which you are conscious of being, namely poverty. Prayers to be successful must be claimed and appropriated. Assume the positive consciousness of the thing desired. Okay? This is from Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard is basically saying, if you're conscious of being poor, you're struggling to pay bills, every time a bill comes, you run 3 miles, and you start, whinging and whining. How am I going to pay this bill? Basically, you're conscious of being poor. Then how can you be conscious of being rich? How can you be pray to be rich? Isn't that what most of Christianity is doing today? They all want to go to heaven. They all want paradise. They all want to get rid of their problems here, and they think paradise will remove those problems. Unfortunately, there is no paradise. The only paradise you're going to find is right here in this world. And if you're going to be living in a lack mindset where you are struggling with bills, you're going to continue to struggle with bills till you die. And then what's going to happen? You're going to get reincarnated. You're back to square one. You start all over again. You'll never see any heaven. You'll never see any hell either. The problem is just that most religions have buffooned people. They have lied to people, and they have misdirected them, and people are just going left side and right side thinking that there's going to be this nice heaven, with nice lush trees, beautiful flowers, money hanging off trees, and we're just going to go and pick the dollars and we're going to build our house over there. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. There was a big debate. There was a big argument 2 centuries ago between Jesus and between the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And the Sadducees said, all this is crap. Heaven, hell, all crap. They don't exist. And so the other people are arguing, yes, they do. He says, no, there isn't. So, you know what? Guess what? The Sadducees were right. There is no heaven and hell. This is just something that has been created by religious organizations to scare people, to make them submit to their agendas and keep them poor. The pastors want to keep themselves rich. They wear the $500 suits. They drive the Bentleys. They go and live in $15,000 hotel, a night in a hotel. You know that, what I'm talking about. A lot of these pastors are doing that. But what do they do for you? They keep you poor. And you continue to remain poor because you're waiting for your nice little, bubbly heaven, which is going to come and take your poverty away. Only problem is this, that your poverty is stuck here with these people, and when you die, nothing's going to change. Then you're going to come back again, which they don't teach you. You're going to come back reincarnated. You're going to start back to square one. Now, you're going to forget all previous memories. You're going to start square one, and you'll probably still be living an unconscious life. And who knows how long you'll be unconscious before you come to consciousness, before you realize, hey, I can get everything here. I don't need no heaven. I don't need no hell. I can get everything here. And then, boom, you go back to the perfect law. So pray to God that, when you pass on from this life, that He brings you back into the perfect law, that you're able to use it and benefit yourself greatly and make your life. And, either you make it at this side of the fence, or when you come back, you make it the other side of the fence. One way or the other, you're going to make a good life for yourself. But now you have a chance. Age is not a factor. There is no such thing as age. Because if you keep thinking, I'm 80 years old and I'm too old now, then you're quite wrong, because your brain is young. Your brain is young as a 25 years old. It don't care about age. Consciousness don't care about age. Everybody's consciousness is one, is echad. You simply have to desire what you want, imaginative act put into place, affirmations put into place, you can get what you desire. If you're 80 years old, think that you can live another 20 years. You got up to 100. If 100 was the limit, you can live to 100 and you can enjoy the rest of your 20 years beautifully. You can have the most marvelous time for the rest of the 20 years of your life. If you're 80 years old, if you're 70 years old, you got 30 years at least to look forward to. Hit that century mark. If you're 60, hit 100 mark. Be happy with it. You got plenty of time. Time is your friend. But use the method. The method is what counts. One of the questions that my students asked me, what about the method? She said, well, Jesus used the method and he produced everything so easily. And why can't we do it? I said, Jesus was a master manifester. He could bring it to pass instantly. He was so profound, so well adept, and so well practiced. For him, bringing a manifestation was like, he said it and it happened. But I said that for us, we are not at that level. We have to practice. We have to do things to bring ourselves to that level so that we can do things. And yes, we'll do greater things. Sure, we'll do greater things. But we must practice. And you can get there, just as Jesus did. But practice makes perfect. And only you can tell which way, which method of the perfect law works for you the best. Some people might say, scripting works for me the best. Others might say, affirmations work for me the best. Others might say, no, imaginative acts works for me the best. Each individual person is going to have something in their favor. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Everybody is different. So find out your strengths. Find out your weaknesses. Then work on your weaknesses and on your strengths, and you will get everything that you desire. God willing, everything will be given to you that you desire. Just be patient, practice diligently, persevere, and you will have it. To give you an example, the other day there was real heavy winds over here, and the missus goes to me, because I was in the process of bringing some rain and bringing some wind, and it really became heavy windy, and it knocked out the power, and of course it probably rained after that as well. And then my wife goes to me, she says to me, well, wind is here. And I said, yeah, wind is here, I brought it. And she said, then why don't you get rid of it? Because, she's like joking. She's thinking, no, it came from God, and, you can't bring wind and things like that. Unbelief, basically. So I told her, I said, nothing happens in this world without happening. These things happen because somebody did something. It's not like God came over here and decided to send wind to a little part of the universe. I said, and she goes to me, are you God? I said, I don't need to be claimed to be God, but I am sent. I am the sent one. I am the Kohen, and I can do this. And then she said to me, okay, then how about you stop the wind? I said, sure, I can try to stop the wind. I said, I brought it. If I brought the wind, obviously there's a purpose for me to bring the wind to cool down the weather. Now you want me to stop it, maybe we need to let it run a little bit, run a little course. And she's like, no, if you brought the wind, you got to stop it. You got to stop it as well. Then I will believe it that you brought it. I said, okay. I sat there. I went into a meditative state. I sat there for about an hour, and I stopped the wind. And then she said to me, oh, but it took too long. I told her, I explained to her that I said the wind came through angels. God sent angels that created this wind. And by the time I connect with those angels and ask them to stop the wind, I said things don't happen instantly. There's communication delay. By the time I've communicated with them and I asked them to put a stop to it, then by the time they got my message, I don't know what part of the sky they're in. I don't know if they're in the sixth sky or the seventh sky. I don't know where they are. So when I send a message, they've got to all get that message and then put a stop to it. And she's like, okay. And she's like saying, so the angels, they bring the wind and you ask them to stop. I said, look, if I sent a message to a satellite system, the satellite is in planet Moon or Mars. I said, do you seriously think that I can get there in 5 minutes? I said, it does not take 5 minutes to get there. It takes a lot of time. I said, have you forgotten what the Bible said about the angel Michael that was stopped from coming to the aid of Daniel the prince, Daniel the prophet? He was waiting 21 days. I said, I did it in an hour. And you're complaining about 1 hour. He waited 21 days. So I said, go read the Bible and learn what that means. So our problem is this, that people over here can be very skeptical. They don't realize that we have these powers and we can do certain things with these powers. But because they've never seen it, they don't believe it. And I told her, I said, you're of little faith. I said, this is why Jesus said, O ye of little faith. You just don't have the faith. How can you believe? How can you believe bigger things? If you don't believe the smaller things, how can you believe the bigger things? So the point being that everything, nature, when we are dealing with nature, nature is probably the hardest thing to deal with. When you want to create rain and when you want to stop rain, or when you want to bring wind and when you want to stop wind, these things can take time. Now I know that in the New Testament, Jesus, was in the boat and, these winds came, they're in the boat and the boat was rocking back and forth and he was able to put a stop to it pretty quickly. Now Jesus was a master manifester. He was attuned to these things and he knew exactly what to say and when to say it and things will stop. And to me, that is a master manifester. He can instantly do it. That's not bad. But you don't see anybody after that time that instantly stopped the wind. I don't see anybody in history who instantly stopped the wind. I read about Rabbi Choni, who used to create rain, standing in a circle, and he would stand there for days until it rained. It didn't rain after 5 minutes. Sometimes he would stand there for days before it would rain. So the point is this, that it all depends on at what level you are. At what level you are. Some things you can manifest instantly. I could manifest some things just like this, instantly, without a problem. But other things, when you're dealing with nature, when you're dealing with bigger items, then you have to follow the protocol. And the protocol means that it will take us a little bit of time. An hour is nothing really in the scheme of things. What's an hour? Nothing in the scheme of things. But the point is this, that it's an exercise in point. We have to exercise, we have to practice, we have to try to do things, and yes, then we can. And I can tell you of things that I did instantly. Instantly I did things. I just said something and instantly it was done. But again, I'm not doing this as a challenge. I'm just simply stating the case that some things we can do instantly, some things would take time, life and death issues. Sometimes a patient is ill, you pray for them and they can be healed instantly, and sometimes they don't get healed. These things, you don't know why God would heal one person and not another. Now, I was speaking to my friend, a student over here in another city, and he was telling me that his auntie was very ill. She acquired a brain tumor. Now, she had been in the hospital for 15 days unconscious, and he was in the hospital yesterday, and he was giving her white blood cells. And he sent me a picture, and he told me that he's there in the hospital giving white blood cells, and I saw the picture. I saw his auntie was on the side of him, and he was on one bed, and she was on another. And I said to him, look, I said, look, I'll be honest with you. Your auntie is gone. She's not going to survive. She's done. I said, she's on ventilator. She's been out for 15 days. The disease has succumbed, disease has overcome her. Her brain is probably by now full of the disease. So I said, the hope for your auntie is actually too late. Unfortunately, I have to say that it's too late. I said, had you done this thing maybe a month ago, when she was still walking and talking, I said there was much hope for her at the time, for her healing. But, and I said this, said okay. And then, 2 hours later, his auntie died. She passed on. And he was, today, he took her to the graveyard with the rest of the relatives and they buried her. So my point is this, that some things you can just see. When I saw his auntie yesterday, and I knew it that she will not survive, she's gone. And, you can have all the hope in the world. Hope manifesting doesn't work. I know that. You know that. And if there was any inkling of a chance where his auntie could be saved, I would have told him. But they had basically left it late. And she had far gone. The only thing that was keeping her alive was a respirator. She was technically already dead. She was already brain dead. She wasn't really alive. She was dead and just on, ventilator stuff. And so maybe in a way it's good that she died and she's free from this illness and suffering. But the interesting thing that turned out was this, that he told me that she was carrying karma. I thought that's interesting. And he told me the rest of the story. He said, look, what happened was years ago, my auntie ran away with a Muslim guy and they wanted to get married. And then when the people came to my mother, her mother, basically the grandmother, they came to the grandmother and the grandmother lied on oath that her daughter did nothing wrong. And she pinned all the blame on the man, saying that the man did it and everything else. But I think apparently it was true that the man did not do it. Her daughter was a bigger culprit. But the daughter obviously lied, and the mother kept her lie and lied on the oath of the Bible. She's Christian. So she took an oath on the Bible and lied that her daughter was innocent, and she wasn't innocent. That karma followed her daughter. And not only did it follow her daughter, that oath that she took, that was a false oath. Within a few days, the mother had some illness and she fell and she remained in a state of paraplegic. She became completely paralyzed, like a coma patient, like a patient that gets paraplegia. And she had that paraplegia attack and she was paralyzed for the rest of her life. She could not move. See, that's why I say do not take false oaths. And the daughter, the karma was passed from the mother to the daughter. Exact same thing happened to the daughter. The daughter went into paralysis, went into this coma mode for 15 days, and she was showing the same symptoms as the mother, her hand shaking, not speaking, and then she died. And I told my friend, my student, I said to my student, look, this is karma. I said, did anybody remove karma from the mother, not to come to the daughter? He says, no. I said, well, it needed to be done. I said, that karma is passed on to the daughter for the mother's sin, and the daughter is now going to pass it to her two daughters, because she's left two daughters. So I told him that she's going to pass it to her two daughters. And I told him, I said, you sit down with them, you speak to them nicely, and you explain to them that you need to deal with this karma. If you don't deal with this karma will come on to the two daughters, and it will wreck their lives as well by illness or by something. So I said, please make sure that you do tell them. And, some remedial action can be taken about this. Because otherwise they are in the same boat as a mother and as a grandmother. So, yeah, there you go. Don't make false oaths. Simple. Okay, so this is another technique that I would advise that maybe 2 or 3 of you can volunteer and test it and let me know the results. And you should get favorable results on this. Now, this is to do with a windfall, any kind of windfall, whether it's a lottery jackpot, whether it's a scratch-off card, whether it's winning the, big Powerball or something, millennium, etc. So what you write it as in past tense. You write a little, maybe a 2-paragraph letter in your notepad, and you write it like this. You say that 2 months ago, I came into a $100 million jackpot win. And I'm so happy and grateful that I received this money. And then I went about thinking, how to best utilize this money to, make my life better and for the good of humanity. And instantly, when my family got news of this, the first thing that happened, my sister came to me and said to me, hey, could you lend me $200,000? I want to invest it in some property and I'll return you the money in, 5 months time. And you can say that I told my sister, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in doing that. Then, you can say, my brother came to me and he offered me a deal. He said to me, give me $1 million and we can go into partnership and do some business together. I don't know, buying, selling cars. And I told my brother also, no, thank you. But what I ended up doing, I ended up investing my money. I invested $5 million or $10 million of that money. I invested it into the stock market to generate a nice healthy dividend. So I can get a dividend every year just from those stocks that are, top of the line stocks that give a decent dividend. And so I invested, you can say to the effect of, I invested $5 million that will generate me $100,000 dividend annually. After that, I decided that the rest of the money, I was going to, buy myself a house. I bought myself a nice home, 4-bedroom, maybe a 5-bedroom home. I bought myself a nice 5-bedroom home. I bought myself the vehicle of my choice. And then I decided that what I'm going to do with the rest of the money, I'm going to invest it in different business ideas. And I decided that, whatever business that you have in your mind, because everybody's different, everybody wants to do something different. One person may decide that he wants to open a restaurant. Another person may decide that that's not the way they want to go. Maybe they want to buy properties. And so you could say to the effect of, I went and I decided to buy a 80-unit apartment block. And I bought the apartment block. I rented it. It's 85% capacity. I'm, making a nice return on investment in my property apartment block. I have a manager who takes care of it. So I invested part of my money over there. And then I decided that, I still had plenty left to go. So I decided that I was going to buy some properties, maybe internationally, maybe in Dubai, maybe in England, in UK. And I decided to invest in properties in international market, maybe buy, 5 expensive properties worth $1 million or so. And I decided to invest those as an investment and rent those out. So that's, your letter. Now your letter doesn't have to be exact word for word what I said. It could be different. You could invest in different areas. Like for instance, one of my students is from India. He could say that he, won the big lottery jackpot and he invested $50 million into India, into some project in India. He made a big, huge building, with flats in it, rented them out, and he bought shops and stores and rented those out. Boom, and he's happy with that. He's making plenty of money. That could be another scenario. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of his relatives will come to him, maybe his brother, maybe his sisters, maybe his in-laws, and they'll probably come to him and say, we want some money. Lend us money, or maybe do business with us. And those are the kind of things that you write in your letter as if they already happened. Like, in the past tense, that you won a jackpot, you got X amount of money, you were investing it in such and such places, you had such certain family members come to you, and you told them that no, you're not interested in making business with them or investments with them. And then once you've written that letter, it's maybe 1 to 2 paragraphs. And after that, you're going to read that letter every day for 22 days. You're going to read it for 22 days, and you're going to give yourself 8 days off, okay, in the month. Let's say you start today the 7th, and you read that letter till the 22nd of the month, and you stop on the 22nd, give yourself 8-day break, and then come back to it again and read it for another 22 days. You just speak it out. You only need to write it once. You just speak it out. And then that thing will come to pass in your life. Now, this is a very, very fast way to manifest. This is speed of manifestation within that. And when you visualize looking at yourself receiving the money, and wherever you written in the letter, that's where you're spending the money in your visualization. If you're building if you're putting up a 80-foot or 100 apartment block, then you see yourself setting up 100 apartment block. And, whatever car you're buying, whatever home you're living in, you put all of that in your imaginative act. An imaginative act doesn't take more than 2-3 minutes to prepare and run it. Because, you're looking at the end result. You're not looking at building a building. You're looking at, your building's been rented. Your building's already there. If it's got 100 apartments, they're all rented. You got 100% rent. And maybe you keep one for yourself. Let's call it 99% rented. You keep one for yourself, for your family. And so that's what you script. And only script it once. And that is a very powerful way to manifest as well. So I highly encourage you to try that. And apart from that, I think that, it's a case of trial and error. And if you try that, trial it and error it and see how it works for you, and then you can report back. And I'd encourage you to do it 22 times. Speak it 22 times, but write it once. The secondary method is that you write a affirmation 22 times for 2 days. And then you stop for 2 days break, take a 2 days break, then start again for another 22 times until that manifestation comes to pass. So you can split it. You can have more than one manifestation, but you write it, script it. And scripting is very powerful. And scripting basically means that you're going to get what you've written. You are going to get what you've written. That's definitely what it means. So I'll encourage you to, split your affirmations into 2, 3, maybe 5 different groups. One you script for 22 days. One you speak for 22 days. Maybe another one you could script it for possibly 33 days. Not 33 days, but 3 days, 33 times. Script it like that. And then you can gauge the results of which one comes to pass quicker. And the index card method I told you, where you have your 4 or 5, maybe even longer, manifestations that are very important to you. You speak them in the air. You just take your card out of your pocket, your wallet, and you speak it in the air. Now there's another method, apart from that, in which sometimes people who are earning a certain amount of salary, like they may be earning $20,000 salary, and they cannot see, because of limiting beliefs, they cannot see how they can go from $20,000 to $100,000 or maybe more. So one technique that you can adapt for that in scripting and visualization is you see your salary doubling. So you can always go from $20,000 to $40,000. So you write it, you script it, that my salary has gone from whatever your salary is today, $20,000 to $40,000. If your salary is $40,000, you double it again. My salary has gone from $40,000 to $80,000. I am very happy. Or if it's $80,000, you go from 80 to 160. So it's much faster to reach $160,000 with an $80,000 salary rather than trying to jump 80 times 10 to $800,000. That may be a little tricky. I mean, it can happen. It can happen in an instant. But it may be limiting for some people to accept that, because we as human beings carry limiting beliefs. So what you want to do is say to yourself, you know what, my first test and the fastest test is I am going to double my salary. So in order to double your salary, I find it's much more easier, much more faster than to say I will 10x my salary, because 10x may take a lot more steps to get to the 10x. I mean, it's doable. I've done it in the past. It's doable. It's not that it's not doable, but it may take a little longer. But when you try to double your salary, you could go from one job to the next, and they might times and a half your salary, or they may even double it. So those things are very possible, and they can happen very quickly. They can happen in weeks, and don't take years to do that. Weeks will make it happen. But as long as you do the scripting, as long as you do the imaginative act, those things are relatively easily possible. I mean, look, if a person's earning, say, $30,000 a year, and if that person's salary suddenly goes to 60, they're going to be a happy person. That gives them confidence. That gives them the ability to understand that, yeah, I can do that. And then when they go from 60, they may then decide, I want to go from 60 to 120,000. And they can get 120,000 salary as well. If they can get 60, they can get 120. I really like something that Mr. Trump spoke in an interview with a person, and they said that Mr. Trump said that I have a friend who is not that well off. He wasn't that well off at that time. He's a businessman, and he said he always traveled first class in an airline. He said he didn't have enough money to travel first class, but he still made it his habit to travel first class. He kind of gathered up the money from wherever, and he went first class. And Mr. Trump said that the reason for his first class travel that he told me was that his mind expands. When he does that, his mind expands. He feels happy. He feels like he's on top of the world. And he said later down the road, this man became really good businessman. And now he travels all the time first class. So I can understand that. And the way I understand it is like this. Let me give an example. If you are driving a Hupti, okay, let's come down to bare bones. If you're driving a Hupti, that's about, $1,500, and, you're driving it, and you're okay from going from A to B, but, you don't have that confidence. You go to park that Hupti in an office where maybe you're going for a job, you might be like, hey, my car is not so great. I don't want to park it right in front of the office. I want to park it somewhere behind, because, I want to park it away from the main lot so no one can see it, because, this will destroy my reputation. And so what you do, you park your Hupti, 3 blocks away so no one can see it. By the way, I did that. Yeah, I'm telling you something that I did in my own life. I had a Hupti, a friend of mine sold it to me years ago for about $300. And I used to drive it to my work. I used to work for Microsoft, and I used to park it 3 blocks away, because, I felt that the car had, paint scratches and other things, and I didn't want to show that car to the Joe public over there, because, I felt like it gives me a bad reputation. I mean, I'm an engineer, so a software engineer gets a bad reputation with that kind of car. So what I did, I waited, and then I, set my focus on getting a BMW. And then when I got my BMW next, which was a 3 Series BMW, black color, then I took it to the front of the lot and parked it at the front. And that gave my mind, it gave my mind an uplift, like whoosh, like I was on 7 skies. So that I understood that by Mr. Trump's interview, that why that person traveled first class, because it upped his mind, it upped his game. That's why, you trying to drive a Hupti versus you trying to drive a top-of-the-range car, it changes the whole game, because it makes you look like a king, and it makes you look like a queen. You no longer, that guy down the road or that woman down the road who's driving this cheap, banger. That's my point. So whenever you drive a car, my suggestion, get the best car that your money can buy. In other words, whatever budget you have, always go for the better car within that budget. If your budget is $15,000, then you go for a $15,000 car that can maintain, that can bring in a nice looking $15,000 car. Don't go for the worst, and don't think to yourself, I'll save $5,000 and I'll buy a $10,000. Don't do that, because by doing that, you demean yourself. You are sending out the wrong message. You're sending out the message that you are worthless, that you're a loser, that you don't deserve a nice car. You don't want to do that. You want to get the best car for the money that is available. Even sometimes it might mean a loan. Even if it means a loan that you have to manage, you have to pay $400 monthly, and but you can get a nice car for that. I mean, there's many cars in America you can buy at $400 monthly, really nice cars. But those cars will add an edge to your mindset. They will uplift your mind. They will give you that, queen feeling, that king feeling, that prince feeling. And that is what drives you forward. It's called emotions. That emotion, that your emotion is your motion in energy. That's what drives you forward. That's what brings your other manifestations quickly. So learn from other people's experiences. I went from a BMW to a Mercedes. That's how it changed my life. So, from a Mercedes to a $100,000 salary. See how the mind changes? See how the mind works? This is how the mind works. The mind, your mind already calculates and says, this guy is a great man. This guy lives like a king. So I need to bring him kingly things. Your mind does that. Your subconscious will do that. Your conscious will allow that, because your conscious opens up. Your conscious will no longer say, hey, but this guy doesn't have the money. Oh, but he only has $5,000 salary. It won't do that. When you are doing something on the ground that makes you look rich, then yeah. And for some people, it might mean that you have to rent a car maybe for a week. Maybe you just rent it for a week. You just drive it around. You rent a nice car, you drive it around, you feel good, you get the feel of it, then you put it to your imaginative act. I guarantee you this, that if you follow my advice and you do that, your life will change. You will no longer be driving hoopties. You'll be driving great cars in your life. So come out of your bubble, come out of your shell. Stop thinking to yourself, oh, I can't afford this. Oh, this is too expensive for me. See, that vocabulary should not be in your book. Your vocabulary should be that you are a queen, that you are a king, that you deserve it, that you're deserving of the abundance. It is your right. That's what you should be. Then you will make it. Today, have a great Shabbat. Over to you, Rabbi Kefa.
Today, Rabbi Hakohin, if I could be heard, can I get a one? There's some great instruction going forward. Today for that, Hakohin. For your instruction and guidance that we have going forward, I got that. Again, I think this is with all the other techniques is something you're not going to nail down in one day. So you're going to have to go back, and we're going to have to go back and replay them and find our niches, find out where we're comfortable at, find out what really works for us and what suits us, and then make it work. You know what I mean? When we look at this Parsha Mattot, we see the same thing occurring. How many of you understand there's more than one way to get to your goal? And I will keep repeating this over and over and over again. How one person gets to their goal may be different for another person. They may use different techniques or different strategies to get there, but they get there. I have many mentors that I look to for the areas that I want to be very, very successful in. And I tell you what, you can take, and they all have different ways of doing it. They have different styles. Actually, they have different techniques that they use. But again, the end goal is that they got to where they wanted to go, but, in a different way. And so I think that's very, 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 very comforting to know that there's more than one way to get to where you want to go. It's very, very comforting because, if you're not successful, if you're not finding success in one way, then you know that there are other avenues out there, and you do a mental shutdown and say, well, okay, since this is not working, then I'm going to just stop. You know what I mean? Cohen has given us many different strategies with the techniques that we can use with our scripting that can help us. Whichever one works for you, whichever one that you think is best for you, then take it and apply it and put it to use and see if it does work, if it's bearing fruit for you, or if you feel like this is where you need to be, if you feel like, this is giving you that surge of energy that's, propelling you forward, then stick with it. Then if not, then you need to make the necessary changes that need to come about. And this is a timely Parsha as well, because in this Parsha we see what goes on when we look at Numbers chapter 32 and the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, the Hidden Truth We Break Scrolls. We see the same thing played out. Now, as I was listening to Hakoy's lecture, I thought about the children of Israel. Well, at the time, they were just the Hebrews that were wandering in the wilderness, right? Now, as they were wandering in the wilderness, do you think that the children of Israel, now, this is an important question. Do you think the children of Israel, as they were wandering in the wilderness, were thinking about, land flowing with milk and honey, land flowing with milk and honey? Were they repeating that over and over again? And newsflash, let me tell you something, by the way. How many of the children of Israel that were wandering in the wilderness during that time, just coming to Egypt, how many of them were literate? Meaning, how many of them could write? Anybody tell me? How many of the Hebrews coming out of Egypt, brick makers, how many of them could actually literally write? They could actually, parchment and write. Anybody tell me? Anybody want to take a gander at that? How many of them could actually write and say, okay, well, I'm going to write a letter to my sugar pie, my apple dumpling. I'm going to write this letter and send it to her via pigeon, and I'm going to tell her to check the box if she loves me and blah, blah, blah. How many of them could literally write? Think about this for a minute. So when Hakohen was given these techniques of different strategies that you can use, these different techniques that you can use in your scripting, I firmly believe one of the most powerful one of them is going to be that of repeating, because you must understand, in our history, now I will tell you that the Levites could. Again, the Levites could. But again, when we look at this from a perspective of just the children of Israel, the Hebrews, I mean, they had no formal schooling or education. How was information passed throughout our holy books for a very, very long time before the parchment? How was it passed down? We understand that we have a what? Oral tradition, right? What does oral tradition mean? Oral tradition means it was passed down from father to son, the father to son, the father to son, the father to son, orally. That means there were stories they done in song. They sat down and they actually would talk about, the history, and it was just passed on that way, orally. So in my children of Israel, descendants of the Hebrews, one of the most powerful methods that we can still utilize today is that of oral tradition. That means you begin to repeat it over and over and over again. You begin to tell yourself over and over and over again. Now, my thought process was this. I was like, man, these Hebrews wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, going through the ups and downs and the trials and the tests and the proving grounds of the desert. You begin to think, well, what were they thinking about? Now, just by the actions that were brought out in the stories that we have recorded in holy books, I can guarantee you majority of them weren't thinking about land flowing with milk and honey. You think they were repeating that over and over in their mind, in their subconscious? Land flowing with milk and honey. Visualizing a land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. Were they remembering the promise? Were they remembering the oath and the vow? Were they remembering the promise that was given to them? Land flowing with milk and honey. I can submit to you not. Why? What's your evidence? What do you base your evidence upon? I base my evidence upon the actions that we read about in our holy books. Of the, Yahweh. There's just, we miss our leeks and we miss our fish and all that. You see where they were at? They weren't thinking land flowing with milk and honey. They were thinking, in the present past tense. You know what I mean? Oh, I wish I could have that fish that we had in the past back in Egypt. Oh, Moses, you're just taking upon too much on yourself. You need to just, give some of that responsibility. You see, it wasn't land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. It was agenda. Now, I took it to head and took it to heart what our Queen talked about in his last lecture when he was talking about excusing yourself from all of this media out there and all the information that you're taking in. How many of you did that after last Shabbat? You kind of put that into action in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion, to where you begin to cut out all the news and cut out all of these other social devices. That anybody did that? Anybody kind of put that to the test? And I'm pretty sure you had fruitful results, just like our Kohen said, because I did as well. I put it to the test, and I was like, wow, and I began to think about what our Kohen talked about, and it was about what he basically was saying is that, right motivation, you have the right energy, you're doing the right things, but the issue is, and what I see is that you gotta get rid of the noise. When I talked about, I just thought about noise. You gotta rid yourself. Basically, I wrote it like this: you gotta kill the noise. You literally gotta kill the noise, Mishpahah. You gotta get rid of the clutter. You gotta get out of the clouds, because it's real cloudy. When it's real murky, you like in murky waters when you just, you're taking in all this, this information. Now it may be factual information. It's based upon, like the news companies say, if it don't bleed, then it don't lead. Because believe it or not, these things subconsciously do have an effect on you, an effect and an effect on you. How many of you understand that? You can be watching some news reel talking about, such and such person died, or a young child died in a car wreck, and yet you could just go through it like that. But all of a sudden, it'll stay with you, and you'll be like, wow. And then before you know it, you start feeling sad, right? Or you watch something where you start feeling angry. Oh, old lady was robbed from somebody took her purse as she crossed the street, and then you develop feelings. What do we know about feelings? You develop these feelings that are counterproductive to whatever desire you're trying to meet. And it's done in such a subtle way, right? And anybody that works in the media or have any experience in the media, this is their experience, is to do it in such a way to where it's real subtle. But it does have an effect and an effect upon you. So we must rid ourselves of the noise. And this is one of the greatest lessons that the greatest of all times, the GOAT, the greatest of all times, Moshe, taught the children of Israel in this Parsha right here in Mattot. It's kind of one of the greatest lessons, and we're going to look at this in Numbers chapter 32. This is one of the greatest lessons that he taught. Because what Moses is basically doing is giving Reuben tribe, and Gad, and the tribe of God, he's giving them a remix, and he's telling them, look, okay, let's read it, just so you understand where we're at. Just so you get a full understanding of exactly where we're at. So that we can learn from our mistakes. You must learn from your mistakes. You must learn from your experiences in the past, not to repeat the experience. This is why I call it a remix. And just like our Kohen said in his lecture, and I believe it's very, very important, is that if you want to meet your desires, you must be focused. You got to be focused on that desire. You got to be, like he said, loyal to it, committed to it. But you got to be focused on it. But how can you focus on it when you're focusing on, oh, man, that building collapse that went down there in Florida, man. That condominium that went down. Oh, man, they got this big storm coming through. I wonder how many people it's going to take out. Oh, man, I got this bill coming up, and then the bill collectors keep calling me. You see, focus. You must rid yourself of the noise. You got to kill the noise, Mishpahah. So you can have all that room and all that real estate to do what? To focus on what really matters and what's really important. How many of you have been hoodwinked and bamboozled by the media to where you the same way? Like it plays on your emotions? It happens, man. Come on, we're human beings. It happens. And so always remember, keep that in the back of your mind, is that we got to continue to be focused on what's important to us. Not what somebody else want to dictate to be important to you, but what is important to you. What do I want to put my focus on? And then I don't want you to use this 6 days of labor. I just need to kill the noise. I just need to kill the noise. You have a mission, you have a goal, and it's all written up. You got it. Everything is perfect. You got it laid out. You got the blueprint laid out before you, and that's what the Hebrews had coming out of Egypt. They had the blueprint laid out before. What was the blueprint? Okay, number one is that we're going to follow Moses and Aaron. They're going to be our leaders. Number two is land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. No, land flowing with milk and honey. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5, all the way to 10. Land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. That's the promise. Land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. It's ours. That's our land. But then, what happened? The Hebrews lost what? They lost focus. And they succumbed what? To the noise. Right? The clutter. They stayed in the clouds. Everything was clouded to them to where they couldn't see clear. We all see clear. We don't get caught in the clouds. Why? It's because we're focused. We need to train ourselves to be able to, and it's very easy to do once you get rid of the clutter. I tell you, it was very easy for me to, and I tell you what, I was more productive this week. I'm telling you, my investments did very, very well this week. My Forex trading did very, very well this week. Very, very well. Why? Because I put my focus on it and I wasn't thinking about other things. When you get rid of when you come out of the clouds and you start, it's almost like when you're in a plane, right? And you're reaching these particular altitudes, you're going up and you're going up and you go through the clouds. And then when you break through the clouds, now below the cloud line, it may be storming and, thunder and lightning, got a little bit of turbulence going on. Hakohen had experience in this, has a lot of experience because I know he flies a lot. And then, but when you get up above those clouds and the plane settles, and sometimes you'll see it's sun shining up above the clouds. You're like, wow, this is amazing. And there's no turbulence. Everything is just smooth sailing. That's focus. That's where we fly. We don't fly low altitudes. We fly high. Why? Because we have the DNA of El Shaddai, of the Most High. So we soar high like eagles because we are eagles, Bukashin. We don't. You ever seen an eagle fly through the clouds? No. Eagle soars above all that mumbo jumbo. And he flies high. Why? Because he's got to be focused. He's got to be able to see with them laser eyes that he has. He has to be able to see through the clouds and see on the ground where's the next meal coming or whatever he desires, Bukashin. So what we see in this Parsha, when we look at Numbers chapter 32, is a lot of things that, Moses begins to teach the children of Israel about because, again, this is like a new generation that have come up. And one thing you're going to notice about this, as Moses goes through the remix, and he explains to them, look, this is what happened the first time, and I'm not going to allow it to happen again. One thing that you need to see, and I want you to write these phrases down or at least think about them as I say them, is the moving of boundaries. I want you to know that. The moving of boundaries. Lines, boundaries can be moved. The flexibility that you have within the Torah, within the confines of these books of Moshe, these books of Moses, the books of Musa.
She read 30 books in
Number 3, I want you to always remember, and this is a roundabout way of what Moses was telling God and was telling Reuben, the Gadites and the Reubenites, is to keep your eye on the prize. What's your prize right now? I'm going to give you 10 seconds to write that in. What is your prize right now? Keep your eye on the prize. What's your prize? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, keyboard warriors, where you at? You should know what your prize is because it's right in your eye and it's right in front of you. What is your prize? You see, you got to be able to spit that out because you're focused. You should know what your prize is because it's right in front of you. Keep your eye on your prize. What's your prize, Miss Bard? You have one? Like, wow, Rabbi Kefa, I never thought about it that way. But no, do you have a prize? Keep your eye on your prizes, plural, Bukashim. Or maybe we should even just start with one, children of Israel. Doesn't matter how you want to roll. What can you take on? But again, keep your eye on your prize. Remember, you can move the boundaries. There are no set lines. That's the flexibility that we have within the Torah, within the confines of the Torah. And you're going to see that spelled out and right here in this situation that we have in Mattot with the Gadites and the Reubenites, Bukashim. What's another thing we want to think about? Room for negotiation. Remember, relationships are about partnership. There's always going to be room to negotiate. You're going to be able to move the lines this way or that way. And that's one of the greatest benefits of the Torah, is that there's room to negotiate. But you will see in Judaism, in some forms of it, that there is no room to negotiate. You don't have a say. You can't do what you want to do. You stick to this tradition and that's it. Oh, that's a bunch of hogwash. You throw that right in the bin with all the bin religion, with the bin that says religion in capital letters. You throw it in the bin. You're not going to be hoodwinked and bamboozled by religion anymore. You're going to follow your way. You're going to follow your desires. And that brings me to my next phrase that I want you to remember as we go through this great history of the Hebrews here in Numbers chapter 32. Is what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And then my final one I want you to remember, that kind of goes along with keep your eye on the prize, is that I want all of us, Mishpahah, to dream big. Think big. I want you to dream big. Queen talked about, don't sit here, just, contemplating the hoopty or just, when you do have monies to circulate for a vehicle, just to settle for something on a discount. No. Dream big. And then ask the person, is that the best that you could do? In Brukashim. But dream big, Mishpah. Don't shortchange yourself. You have big dreams. Big. I mean, who's stopping you from dreaming big? Yourself. Only yourself is stopping you from dreaming big. Why? Because you shortchanging yourself. Because you dream small. Either you're going to dream big or you're going to dream small. Which one do you choose this day? Claim it. I'm going to dream big. What's wrong with having big dreams? There's nothing wrong with it. You should not settle. Dream big. Stay focused. Dream big. Keep your eye on your prize. Well, how are we going to do all these things? You got to come out of the clouds. You got to come out of the clutter. And then you also got to kill the noise. A lot of things going on here. But let's get into it. Numbers chapter 32. Again, I read from the Bible. Numbers chapter 32, Hidden Truth We Break Scrolls. If you want to purchase it, you can purchase them on lulu.com, or you can purchase them on Amazon. This is a great pickup, great Bible. All of you listening on Facebook or you listening on YouTube, this Bible will help you and assist you to really begin to understand what the really going ons are. The grits and the greens, the meat and potatoes, really give you a great understanding from a Hebraic point of view. That was transliterated by a Kohen of Israel, not the priest of Rome, Baruch Hashem. So here we go. Numbers chapter 32, starting at verse 1. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle. Is that a bad thing to have a great multitude of cattle? Absolutely not. And when they saw that the land of Yatzir and the land of Galaad, that behold, the place was a place for cattle. Now, let's look at it from a business point of view. How many of you have a business mindset? Your mindset is about business. Now, you have these particular assets. Now, at this time, these particular assets were cows. Cattle. So we're talking about cattle And down here in the South, down here in Texas, we know something about some cattle. Texas Longhorns, baby. But we're talking about some cattle. Now, this is your assets. These are your assets here. So you want to take care of your assets. This is capital here. Cows, your health, my wife. Cows are capital, Miss Bahar. And so you always want to do what's best for you want to take care of your capital, right? You want to maintain your capital. So they say this. So they say, okay, we see this land right here, and it's great. Now, what do you know about this land? Geographic location. Always remember, business people, what's the most important thing that you have to do as far as being in business is have great location, right? Queen talked about somebody wanting a restaurant. Somebody wanting to open up a restaurant or their own restaurant, soul food, cooking from the soul, whatever, Hebrew style, however you want to, name your business or whatever. You want to open up a restaurant. Where do you want to put your restaurant? Any cooks in the house? Put up and see if there's any cooks in the house. You got the cook finger. You can cook in your sleep. Any cooks? No cooks in the house today. Let's say if you did have a restaurant, where do you want to put your restaurant? Cook up the year, cook up the decade. Where would you want to put your restaurant? You want to put it in the ghetto, or do you want to put it on the main thoroughfare where people getting right off the Interstate 10 and they can come and eat at your restaurant? Everybody can see it. You can put up big signs, or do you want to put it in the ghetto where everybody's on Section 8, and then maybe they can't afford, your meal because they don't take the Star Card, or, you don't take food stamps there, so you're not going to get a lot of flow going through your place. And I'm not knocking people who are in that particular situation, but I'm just saying, look, if you want your business to succeed, then you want to have a great location. And so the Reubenites and the Gadites were talking about, oh, there you go, Devorah. You got to be high end because you know what? Devorah thinks big. Devorah not mediocre. Devorah said, well, look, I'm not going to cater to the, to the lower than the low. Although I'll, any leftovers that I have for the restaurant, I'll give out to the poor and all that, this, that, and the other. But it's high end, baby, because what? Devorah thinks big. Rubashir. So the Gadites and the Reubenites are like, look, man, we found this land, location. This is like the location, man. This is where we need to be. So who do we need to talk to that we can secure this land? Now, what's the deal with this particular location? Is this particular location that they sought out and that they sell, is this in the land flowing with milk and honey as we talk about location? Remember what I was talking about earlier? You think that you think the Hebrews will run around saying, flowing with milk and honey, land flowing with milk and honey? If the Reubenites and the Gadites flowing with milk and honey, land flowing with milk and honey, this seems to be the great piece of land where you want to put some cows. Land flowing with milk and honey. I mean, you say that in Texas, I'm going to try to find that land to put my Longhorns on. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. This is some cherished land. My mom can graze on. But the Gadites and the Reubenites had, no, this land is ideal. Now, pray tell, did the Gadites and the Reubenites have a crystal ball to where they could see the land flowing with milk and honey and say, well, this piece of land is good, but we saw this other piece of land, across the Jordan in the land flowing with milk and honey, and it was not so good. The Reubenites and the Gadites saw this land, and it's almost like the first person that you see, you want to marry him. But you haven't saw any other person. You haven't dated, but the first person that you date, you want to marry. Is that logical? No, I think you need to go out there and date a variety of people. And then you can begin to see, well, this kind of person I like and this kind of person I would like to marry. You don't just say, oh, the first person I want to meet, I'm going to marry him. Oh, that's a crapshoot. I need to take you to Vegas. That's just, and that's the Gadites and the Reubenites hadn't even seen the land flowing with milk and honey yet. Didn't even know what land was going to be allocated to them for their cattle. Who knows? The land on the other side of the River Jordan, the River Jordan, could it have even been better than this land that they want to select for themselves? As they said there in Numbers chapter 32, verse 1. The place that was a place for cattle. Well, if this is the place for cattle, how do you not know that the land flowing with milk and honey is not going to be even a better place for your cattle? Moo, moo, right, Nakyan? Moo. How do you know? But they decided that what? Remember I talked about earlier in one of my statements. What did my statements say? What do you want? This is what the Gadites and the Reubenites wanted. They wanted this land for their cattle. And as we're told in our holy books, they had a lot of cattle, Mishpah. They had a lot of cattle. And this is the land that they wanted. This is what they wanted. But here we go again. Is this part of the plan? Now, let's go back to this and let me ask you this question. Are the Reubenites and the Gadites focused? Anybody want to take a shot at that? Are the Reubenites and the Gadites focused? Are they focused on what? What are they supposed to be focused? What's the end goal? Land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. Land flowing with milk and honey. Are the Reubenites and the Gadites focused? Are they focused? Think about this for a minute. If they're asking for land that's not in the land flowing with milk and honey, are the Reubenites and Gadites focused? Are they? And so this is the complaint that Moses had. He's like, wait a minute. I understand this is what you want. But look, this is not part of the promised land that's supposed to be given to you. Your land flowing milk and honey is on the other side of this river over here, the river Jordan. So what is this here? But again, this is what the Gadites and Reubenites wanted. This is what they wanted. This is what they wanted. This is what they wanted. Now we're going to get into the flexibility of the Torah. You're going to see how flexible the Torah. And now we're going to get into the negotiation side. Remember we talked about partnerships? How many of you understand that the 12 tribes of Israel, howbeit that they are a family, this is all about partnerships, right? There's a partnership because each tribe, each family, each son had particular responsibilities that they had to do. They had a particular role that they had to play, right? So we all have to look at this as just a whole business endeavor because that's what it is. It's a big, giant business, bigger than Amazon, Tesla. This is just a big conglomeration of just a business. The 12 tribes of Israel. They want to go to the land that's flowing with milk and honey. That's the goal. And they're almost at that goal, but they're not there yet. So they're not complete, but then, here it goes. You have two of the tribes. We kind of staked out this land right here, and we decided that this land is good for us. Anybody tell me, as students of the Torah, what was Moses' response to all this mumbo-jumbo? What did Moses say? He began to give them a history lesson. Remember we talked about the remix? Let's keep reading. Let's look at Numbers chapter 32 at verse 5. Wherefore said they, if we found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. And bring us not over to Jordan. Whoa, wait a minute. Remember we talked about focus? But the lesson that Moses is trying to teach is like, look, here comes the noise. You hear the noise coming in? Where's the noise coming in from? The Gadites and the Reubenites. They're bringing in noise to the business plan. What's the business plan? Land flowing with milk and honey. Period. Land flowing with milk and honey. Period. Now here comes the noise. You hear the noise coming in? Here comes the clutter. Now we get a little bit cloudy here. Because now you're saying, wait a minute. What are you saying? You're saying, wait a minute. Bring us not over to Jordan to give this land on this side of Jordan for a possession. Bring us not over Jordan. Wait a minute. That's not part of the plan, is it? Noise. You see how the noise can come in and be disruptive? But then Moses, the great teacher that he is, he gives a great teacher that he is, not Sean. He gives us a great class on our history. A great class on our history. Look at verse 6 of Numbers 32. And to the children of Reuben, Will your brethren go to war, or shall you sit here? So you already said, look, man, anything worth having in life, and I'm telling you, you're going to have to pay for it. A lot of folks don't understand that, but anything worth having in life, you're going to have to pay for it. This is why this free model, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Why? Because you develop a mindset of just free, not work for it. Anything worth having in life, you're going to have for it. This is going to bring this point across clear day. You got to go out and you got to work for it. Like I see on many bumper stickers here in text, price that needs to be paid for freedom. Look at verse 7. And why do you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which Yahweh has given them? Oh, here we go. Noise. And I want you to remember that word discourage. Because that's what happens when you listen to those newsreels. You get discouraged from your goal. You get discouraged. You hear, like I talked about, you hear these stories, statistically, black and brown people are at a less advantage of being successful, of earning $1 million. Yeah, you want to be a millionaire. You tell yourself you're a millionaire, and yet they tell you on the news, oh man, is your chances of becoming a millionaire are very, very low because you're black and you're brown. But what does that do to you? That discourages you. That discourages you. And you get all these people around you, just like Queen talked about it, telling you, oh, you're not going to be a millionaire. Oh, you're not going to have that nice house. Oh, you're not going to drive that nice car. What does that do? Discourage you. Discouragement is one of the biggest factors that prevent you, and stumbling blocks that prevent you from being successful. You got to recognize discouragement. We see it in our history. Moses is explaining it to our people, so don't do it. Don't fall for the trick of discouragement. Kill that noise of discouragement. How do you do that? Don't listen to these people. Don't give them an ear. But it's always in my ear, Rabbi Kefa. Well, turn it off. What do you need to put on in your ear? Your recordings of your affirmations. Things that Hakoy talked about. The things about having your recordings of you affirming whatever you desire for yourself and visualization. These are the kind of things. So we must rid ourselves of the noise. Oh, you can't do it. You won't be it. You can't do it. Well, I hope you succeed. No, we don't ride on hope. We ride on we're going to meet our desires, and that's just it. I am that I am. Baruch Hashem. So this is what we must remind ourselves of. And this is the kind of things that we have to put in our ear. Not discouragement. Not things that are discouraging to other folks and to yourself, more importantly. Maybe you want to buy some real estate. Oh, you want to buy a condominium complex. Yeah, you just saw what happened in Florida. You're like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that now. You let that particular event discourage you from going out and buy you a 200-unit condominium complex in Florida because of what you just saw. Oh, man, did you see that building? What if it collapse? Oh, I'm going to get sued and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to lose all my money. My business is going to go to ruins and blah, 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 blah. Don't fall for that. Discouragement. Moses is teaching the children of Israel. Giving us that remix here. He's telling the Hebrews, look, you're so close to becoming the children of Israel. Hebrews. And now you're going to muck it up by saying you want this land instead of land as a part of the plan. You're neglecting the land as part of the plan for this land. You see what I'm saying? Don't settle. We're talking about land flowing with milk and honey. You haven't even seen it yet you're settling for this land over here, saying it's better for your cattle, right? I mean, this is basically what's going on here. So the Reubenites and the Gadites, they come and they begin to negotiate. They say, well, okay, now we have to negotiate. Let's negotiate, Moses. Moshe gives a great history lesson. He goes to tell them, look, let me give you a great story and a great history lesson about discouragement and what it did. And why you sitting right here right now on the brink of land flowing with milk and honey, and your ancestors and your fathers are not. Let me tell you why. Then he goes on in verse 8 of Numbers chapter 32. And thus did your avot, your fathers, when I sent them to Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel. There we go again, that word discouragement. Kill that noise. Don't be discouraged, Mishpahah, and don't allow yourself to be discouraged. Well, how do you do that? Kill the noise. This is what our Kohen has been talking about. Man, you take out all that noise, then you're more focused on what you desire for yourself. And what do you want? And then you can begin to play it out. And that affirming becomes real, and the visualization becomes real because you begin to see it manifested before your very eyes. Look at Hashem. You got to kill the noise. I see it all the time, Mishpahah. So many folks, they sit here, you sit there and begin to talk to them, and they just parrot what they heard on TV. Hey, did you hear about this happening? You hear about that happening? I want to hear about what's going on in your life. Not, hey, did you hear that this going to do this, and blah, 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 and that's going to happen there, and blah, blah, blah. No, I want to hear about what's going on in your life. What successes are you meeting? What's making you happy? You see where we're going? We're the light of the world. We got to change it. We got to change the behavior of folks in these nations. But first, we need to change our behavior. Discouraged. They discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, that they should not go into the land which Yahweh had given them. And yet, we're starting to see the same old record played again. So Moses is giving the remix. He's like, look, it's the same old thing that just happened. Now you saying you don't want to go in the land, you want this land that's outside of the land flowing milk and honey. And he goes on to tell them in his history lesson, in verse 10, and Yahweh's anger was kindled the same time. And he swore, saying, surely none of the men that came out of Mitzrayim of 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swore to Abraham and to Yitzhak and to Yaakov, because because why? Because they have not fully followed me. How are you not going to fully follow? Remember, we talked about missing the mark. This is just what they did. Yes, my son. We talk about missing the mark. This is exactly what they did. They missed the mark. And so, yes, you can repent, but there's repercussions. What was the repercussion? Yes, my son. Is that the children of Israel, those men, 20 years old and upward, will not see the land. And this is why you Reubenites and Gadites are standing here today. You're the next generation, so I got to explain it to you. Did Moses write it down to them? No. You know what he did? He told them orally. Let me tell you a story. Sit down. Let me tell you our history. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you why you're here today right now with this golden opportunity. Don't mess it up by being discouraged. And don't mess it up by discouraging your other business partners. Because people hear about this on the news. Oh, newsflash. Oh, this is Hebrew News. I'm coming live. This is Rabbi Kefa coming live. We just had a eruption in the business plan because we had two of the members, the Gadites and the Reubenites, have decided, newsflash, decided they don't want to go in the land flowing with milk and honey, Oliver. They don't want to go in the land flowing with milk and honey, and they want this land over here. They said this land is better than the land that was promised to them coming out of Egypt. This is a newsflash coming live from you, channel 22, Hebrew News. You see what I'm saying? Exactly what's going on. Oh, and all of a sudden, what all the other people, they all tuned in on the televisions and the tents, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. Is this really true? Is this really true? And then people going to start getting discouraged. Oh, well, maybe I ought to pick land on this side, too. Let me go out here and look for me, prospect me some land on this side. The Reubenites and the Gadites did it. Do you see where we're going with this? You see what can happen? So Moses is telling him, Mr. White, to tell him, look, you got to stay focused on what is the plan. What is the end goal? What is the plan for us, Mishpah? There's a plan. And this is what HaKohen wants for all of us. What is it? What do we want? What are our plans? And believe it or not, yeah, you can negotiate, as you see right here in this Parsha. They were able to negotiate things out. And the Gadites and the Reubenites ended up getting what they wanted. Rukashim. But I'm telling you, go big. How am I going to settle for something when I haven't even saw the land flowing with milk and honey yet? And I really like what Akoy said about hookies, about cars. Listen, how you going to settle for, a discounted whatever kind of vehicle that you have when you haven't even seen, maybe you've seen one, but you haven't even driven that go big vehicle that you desire? Go and rent it for a weekend. You can go to Enterprise or some of these. You can rent that car for a weekend and drive it. Oh my goodness. Want to come out a feeling then you'll get that feeling, that sensation. Oh, I like this car. Or you say, well, no, after driving the car and having it for a weekend, I decided I really don't like this kind of car. Let me go out and pick another car and drive it and see exactly what I like, and that gives me that feel. You know what I mean? Rukashim. A lot of folks say this, and I hear this a lot from a lot of mentors. And they say this. How many of you heard this say, fake it until you make it? That description that Donald Trump gave that HaKohen heard a lecture from one of his friends that may not have been, financially stable, but was still riding in first class, was he was going to fake it until he make it. You know what I mean? I mean, have you ever heard that saying, fake it until you make it? I hear a lot of successful people say that. Well, in the beginning, I faked it until I made it. You fake it until you make it. Because when you begin to still live that life, it may be fake to other people, but again, it becomes real to you because why? I mean, you want to go drive a Mercedes? Go rent one for a weekend and just rent it and drive it. And begin, again, just like a queen said, it'll begin to change the way you think. And look, people will begin to affirm it for you because you'll pull up next at a stop sign next to somebody and everybody's looking like, wow, he's in a Mercedes. He's a very successful person. They're actually affirming what you really are. Oh, he's very successful. He's driving a Mercedes. He's driving a BMW. Oh, he's very successful. And they begin to, you know what? They begin to think, what kind of business is he in where he can drive a BMW and a Mercedes? What does he do? He's very successful. You see, people equate that with success. Baruch Hashem. And if you want to be successful, have success, then, go out and be it and do it. And stay focused on your goal. Stay focused to your plan. Don't get caught up and distracted by the noise. What is one of the biggest examples that we see here in our holy books is discouragement. Is one of the biggest noise factors that are out there. You're discouraged. Still today in 2021, it's the same old show. It's the same old dog and pony show. Don't be discouraged. I can remember when I told my father I was going to China. He's like, what the hell are you going to China for? Oh, you're not happy in America? What are you going over there to China for? Why are you going to go over there to find a wife in China? There's many women here in America. I can tell you I've been married to 3 of them. I had 3 married. And I'm like, oh, Pop, I'm going to China to get right. Well, why you can't? And again, my other relatives in Louisiana who never left the borders of Louisiana. Oh, you think you're so big shot. You can get on a plane and go to China and blah, 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 blah. The haterade out there. But I didn't allow any of that to discourage me. And I'm so glad I didn't today as I look at my beautiful wife, 10 wives in one, and my awesome son who's going to do great and mighty things and be a successful businessman and be a happy and humble and healthy person. Baruch Hashem. Don't be discouraged. Don't kill that noise of discouragement. Because you see what it did to our forefathers. You see what it did to the Hebrews. It negated their opportunity to see the land flowing with milk and honey. To where they had to wait another 40 years for the next crop to come up. And so Moses is explaining this to the Reubenites and to the Gadites. Because you fully didn't follow there in Numbers chapter 32, verse 11. You didn't fully follow. Why? Because you didn't fully see the goal, the mission through to the end. You came in with doubt, and you came in with discouragement. And what did that do? That affected the whole camp. It's like a disease, man. We don't carry disease, Mishpachah. We carry the remedy. We're the remedy. We're not the disease, Mishpachah. Is light a remedy or light a disease? No, light is the remedy, Mishpachah. Light is not the disease. Light is the remedy. Consider that going forward. Now, let's go back to our PowerPoints. Moving the boundaries. That's what the Reubenites and the Gadites did. They moved the boundaries. They said, oh, no, we don't want to go there. We don't want the land in land flowing with milk and honey. We want the land this side of the Jordan. Keep your eye on the prize, Mishpachah. There is room for negotiation within the Torah. There is flexibility in the Torah because guess what? It all boils down to what you want. What did the Reubenites and Gadites want? They wanted this land. Even though they haven't seen the other land, which I think was a mistake. Now, what I would have did was, I wouldn't have came at Moshe and Aaron at this point. I would have just said, wait a minute, hold up. Aaron and his descendants, by the way. But I would have said, wait, hold on. Let's go over and see what's on the other side. Because, how many of you heard this phrase? Sometimes the grass is not greener on the other side. So, before we pick this green grass for our cattle, let's go look and see what's in the land flowing with milk and honey first before we can make a decision. Now, that's a good business sense. That's a good business mind. Because then now you're weighing out both sides. You say, okay. Then you can go to Moses and say, after the fact, after we put the smack down on the Canaanites and all that, then we can go in, see the land. If we like it or not, then we can go to Moses and say, look, Moses, we held up to the business plan. Now, let's make a decision. Let's decide. We decide this particular pasture. That would have been a better way to do it. Now you're saying, well, Rabbi Kefa, well, you Monday quarterbacking it. Yes, I am. So we have the opportunity to do that. We've been afforded these experiences in our holy books so that now we can Monday morning quarterback it, and now we can go forward and make better business decisions. I want you all to understand this, is that life is a business. How well you're going to run your business, that's going to be up to you. How well you run your business is based upon how well you make choices in life. You understand what I'm saying? But you must realize that life is a business. And what is a business? A business is all about just relationships and partnerships and relationships and partnerships. And the more successful you are at relationships and partnerships, the more successful you're going to be at business. Really, at the end of the day. One of the greatest relationships that you can make, one of the greatest partnerships that you can make is matrimony. That means getting married. That's basic, fundamental relationship. Is to find that partner. Find that helpmeet. Find that rib, as they call it. That's going to be by your side. Through the thick and through the thin. And that's going to be that great advice to you. It's going to be that comforter to you. See it that way. Look at your life as a business. Now, you must ask yourself this question. Well, how am I running my business? And one of the first keys in having a successful business is to mind your business. Mind your own business. You have to mind your business. So you can't be caught up in what the Republicans doing, what the Democrats doing, who the president is. I can give two hoots who the president is of any country. Because I'm the president of my country and I need to worry about minding my business. You understand what I'm saying? To make whatever country I'm in better. It don't matter. Green, blue, black, red, yellow. I don't care. I'm here to mind my business. I have a company that I need to run. How many of you running a company? You understand? Put up capital C. Hey, Rabbi Kefa, I'm running a company. I got a company that I'm running here, man. I don't have time to be worried about this, that, the other, the third, what's going on where. Oh, Rabbi Kefa, that seems kind of harsh. No, it isn't. It's just real. I'm getting rid of, I'm killing the noise. I'm going to kill the noise, Oliver. I'm killing the noise. The noise, I'm just cutting it out. I'm just killing the noise. And I'm focused on my business plan. What's your business plan? Your affirmations, that scripting that Kohen talked about today, and how to do it, and the different techniques that you can use to do it. That's your business plan. Man, I think about my business plan all the time. And the more you get rid of the clutter and come out of the clouds and see clear, you think about your business the whole day. I'm thinking about my business the whole day. Focused on your business the whole day. And you got all these tools to help you. I mean, we're in such a great time to where we have all these tools afforded to us to help us, right? You got so much aid to help you and assist you in becoming successful, however you see success. I saw this, we talk about, your basic relationship, your basic business is the partnership with your significant other. I was talking with this one guy the other day. I tell you, they have a happy relationship. They've been married for a couple of years now. They're very, very happy. And I'm like, wow, man, how did you find this particular woman? Or how did you meet? I was talking about, like, how did y'all meet? He's like, we met on a website. I was like, wow, Baruch Hashem. You see? He said, we met on a dating site, on the internet. I was like, Baruch Hashem. The technology that you have afforded to your footsteps. You see, you just don't have to settle. And I was explaining that to my sister. I was like, sis, you just don't have to settle for these Texans. You can get on the internet and begin to socialize with people all over the world, with men all over the world. You don't have to settle for these Texans down here that still want to live with their mama and be mama's boys. There's so much afforded. There's so many tools out here at our disposal. And always remember, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. It's who you know. So again, we talk about relationships. You got to build relationships for your business to be able to thrive and be successful. You got to build relationships. Establish them, build them, grow them, nurture them. Baruch Hashem. If you're going to be successful. And always remember this. And Moses, this is one of the greatest lessons Moses was teaching the Gadites and Reubenites, is that you can't go through this. You can't reach your goals alone. You cannot do it alone. So you need to squash that thought process because it'll discourage you. I hear people saying all the time, well, I'm so alone. Well, get unalone. How do you get unalone? Begin to establish relationships. Begin to build relationships. Begin to encompass people around you that's going to help you meet your desire. People that are already there. People that are doing it. Kohen talked about this last year, when he talked about maybe you all need to get together. He used the word network. I think he used the word network. You need to get together, network with the same like-minded kind of people. Boy, that's wise. That's wisdom. Because when you all thinking the same, oh my goodness, you're powerful. That's why the God of Israel loved Israel, because they began to think together, think alike. We say in that Shema, Ahad, they became one. All this became one, Baruch Hashem. You become unstoppable when you become one. And we see that in our holy books as well with the wall of Babel. I mean, their people all became one. They became focused on one thing, and they was doing it, wasn't they? And they was doing it. And they was building the wall of Babel, Baruch Hashem. They was doing it because why? The people had become one. They had that one, and so that's what's important. Is to encircle yourself. Well, I don't care whatever your desire is, but put the necessary tools that's going to propel you, give you propulsion, shoot you out quicker to your desire, or help you meet your desire. That desire may be. Desire is plural. Baruch Hashem. Shabbat Shalom, Nachan. He comes in with his water, Baruch Hashem. So, this is what we must consider going forward. Is to understand, you can negotiate. There's flexibility because what, at the end of the day, you all know the story. At the end of the day, the Gadites and Reubenites went in, still kept true to their promise. And then Moses said, okay, you two will be able to keep your promise. You go in and do what you initially said you're going to do, and then you can go back and have your land. We give you the land, you go ahead and mark it out for yourself. But again, we're getting ready to go to war. Don't lose sight. Keep your focus on what needs to be done. So that way, the other tribes, because, Hebrew News 22 came on live and said that the Gadites and the Reubenites have just exited out of the business plan. And so everybody else is going to shit because they're like, oh no, there's no way we're going to win without the Reubenites and the Gadites. So we can't go to war. No, that didn't happen. Hebrew News 22 came on and said, yes, and by the way, everything is still intact. The business plan is intact, and the Reubenites and Gadites are going to war, and we are going in as one. Baruch Hashem. We're all going in as one. We're going to go in and kick some ass and kick the Canaanites out, and we're going to take the land, and the land flowing with milk and honey is ours. This is News 22 coming in live with breaking news. You see what I mean? So everything's still intact, and everybody's still with that oneness, with that game plan. Is that we're going to go in and do this because that's what we say we're going to do. And then we'll take the spoils on the back end, Baruch Hashem. So this is how it's run, Mishpahah. Is that we must kill the noise. Noise, you got to get rid of it. Because what we see in this Parsha, what we learn here is that discouragement was a big, big stumbling block. We must begin to recognize discouragement, and we must begin to establish business plans to make sure discouragement doesn't come into the camp, doesn't come into our business model. If there's discouragement in any kind of way, then we must get rid of it. Rid of it. We must have an exit strategy for discouragement. We must let it go. You're going to have to let it go, or otherwise it's going to destroy your business plan, and it's going to make you lose your focus. So the question that you need to ask yourself today is, well, what tools out there are discouraging me? And how do I need to replace those tools of discouragement with tools that's going to assist me and propel me, give me that propulsion, that jet propulsion that I need to rocket myself to my business plan success? Because there's no such thing as failure, Mishpahah. Nay, Nachan. There's no such thing as failure. You only win and you learn. You win and you learn. But do you see the flexibility in the Torah? Even though the promises was on this side of Jordan, the other side of Jordan, land full of milk and honey, that Moses and the God of Israel still afforded the children of Israel land outside of the Jordan, outside of the land flowing with milk and honey. Say, look, you can have the land. Negotiation. You have to be able to negotiate and be flexible. If the Torah is flexible, then we need to be flexible. And what you see here in this business plan is not everybody's going to agree 110%. So you have to have flexibility. You have to agree to disagree, but still come through with the business plan in the end. Right now, John? You have to agree to disagree, but still make it happen. You can still do that. And everybody can still get what they want. But don't be discouraged because you get some letdown or you get some rejection. Or people tell you can't do it. Or, you go into these banks and they keep telling you no. Oh, that's just another opportunity for another bank to tell me yes. For the next bank to say yes. Well, no, I've been rejected so many times. I can't get the funding because you just said you can't get the funding. Remember, there's more than one way to meet your goal. Right now, John? There's more than one way to meet your goal. You must understand that. And your way may be a new way, a unique way that it comes about, but it will happen. But you just have to keep believing and keep that feeling of, yeah, it will happen. Yeah, I'm going to be successful. And yeah, I'm going to be at peace. And I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to be full of joy. Baruch Hashem. That's where we're coming from. Yes, my son. That's where we're coming from, and that's where we're at, Mishpah. We're going to keep it moving forward and learn these great lessons that we have in our Torah, in our holy books, to assist us going forward, to do great and mighty things. No one is stopping you but you, but self. Will you put self out the way, and you'll be unstoppable. Right, Nachan? So, on that note, we'll wrap it up for this Shabbat. I'll say Shabbat, Shalom, and Shalom, Shalom to you. We'll go over my PowerPoints here one more time. Moving the boundaries. The boundaries can be moved. Flexibility. Be flexible. Keep your eye on your prize. Room for negotiation. I mean, Torah is all about negotiating. And you have so much flexibility in Torah that Torah sets you up for success. You cannot fail with the Torah. You cannot fail. What do you want? Ask yourself that question. Kill the noise. Get rid of the clutter. Get out of the clouds. And then my last one I'm going to say is this one. It's to dream big, Mishpah. Always dream big. Tonight, dream big. Today, dream big, Rabbi Zechariah. Dream big, Atara, my fellow Texans. Dream big. You know, what do we say here in Texas? Everything is big in Texas, don't we? Isn't that our saying? Everything is big in Texas, right? Why? It's because we dream big. And it's even getting ready to get bigger now because, listen, oil's getting ready to go through the roof. And Texas is an oil state. Man, you're going to see money coming. You're right now, Sean. You're going to see some black gold and Texas tea coming out of here in Texas. I'm telling you. Why? It's because we have that mindset that we dream big. We got big trucks, big cattle. Everything is big in Texas, Baruch Hashem. So always dream big. Don't belittle yourself. You know, for that car, dream big. For that house, dream big. For that wife, dream big. For the children, dream big. Right, Nachan? For that dog, dream big. Dream big for everything in your life. And you'll see the success. Baruch Hashem. So Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to you, all of you, Mishpah. Let me pass it over to our Kohen. And those of you listening via Facebook and listening via YouTube, to Rabbi for listening in. And more importantly, begin to apply this stuff. And you'll see your life. I'm telling you, life is so beautiful. This is a beautiful business, isn't it? It's a beautiful business. Okay, son. Okay. So Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you, Mishpah.
Todah for that, Rabbi Kefa. I want to give you a testimony, and this is very important. Remember, I had sent some videos to Rabbi Kefa for these, rich sheikhs in Saudi Arabia, also in Kuwait and, Qatar and other places, in Doha and in Dubai. And, we were looking at these fixtures at these houses, how they had very expensive houses. They had golden, furniture, golden taps, golden, bathroom fittings. And they were showing their planes and this, one of the richest men in Saudi Arabia, Walid bin Talal, he had golden fixtures in his plane. Here is something that happened. You see, this is what happens when you watch these images. This is why I said to you that make a habit of looking at great images of rich people. But I don't think many people have got that, that message hasn't got there yet. It'll probably take time. Here is what happened over here. I was invited, and I'm invited, I haven't gone there. I've invited to a rich man's house over here. So very rich man. And do you know what he's done in his house? He's put 2 golden faucets. Each faucet is pure gold, 24 karat, $50,000 each. And he told me to come down and take a look. And of course, when you go to take a look, I'm going to open that golden faucet, wash my face with it, wash my hands with it, and, kind of inaugurate it. So I'm invited to that place. I'm waiting for a date when this man invites me. But yeah, I've been invited there. And I told this man, I said, well, If you want to take me out of the city, you better send your private plane. And if you want to keep me in the city, then you better send your, 3 Land Cruisers for me. They ride a protocol. Their protocol is 3 Land Cruisers, 2 are fully guarded, and 1 in the middle. So I said, either you send me 3 Land Cruisers, or you send me a plane if you're going to take me in the northern regions. So I don't know exactly where this is, but he told me that I will be going there and I will be examining it and I will be inaugurating it. And he told me that he has two faucets, what we call taps, pure gold. And he told me that he has $3,000 worth of furniture in each room that is kind of made in that house. It's a huge big house as well. So I said, well, it'll be a good experience to see what a golden tap looks like. But that's not all. That's not all. I spoke to my friend and I said to myself, what is the most expensive car in the city over here? And he said the most expensive car, or the best car right now in here, is a car that's going for about $70,000. And it's one of those Kia cars, Kia company, South Korean company. And I said, okay. I said, why don't you find one of those cars, the most expensive car that people love in this city, and there are, rich people are driving around. I said, can you bring that car for maybe a few hours, maybe for half a day? He said, yeah, I can bring it. He said, I'll bring it. I said, my boss's son has it. $70,000 car. I said, tell him to loan it to us for half a day. I said, I want to drive it. I want to sit in that car and I want to drive it and I'll get a feel of it. And he said, okay, I'll do that. Now, what's the purpose of that? The purpose is exactly what I told you. Until you put your brain and until you put your body into that body of that car and you sit in that car, or you maybe go to a showroom and do it, you're not going to get the feel of what is it like to sit in luxury. It's okay to see it on the internet. That's one step. It's okay to see it on the internet. But what about when you drive it? You drive it and you take it to a relative's home and you park it there and they look at you and say, wow, this man, my goodness, where did he get all that money from to buy that car? He must be a very rich man. See the persona? See what people say? And whenever people look at you, when people out there look at you, they're going to say, that man is some very important guy. He can't be driving that car unless he's a very important man. So it creates a persona. It creates the exact same thing that Mr. Trump spoke about, that man who wanted to travel first class. Exact same thing. It will create the vibration, the frequency. It will create the emotions that you're not going to find in any other car. So it is sometimes important to sit and feel the vehicle and drive it. That's why I said it is better for you, instead of whining and crying about your little hoopty all the time that breaks down, or saying that, oh, I got a second-hand car, why not rent a car for one day? Rent the best car that you like. Rent the car that you like for one day. Pay $50 rent on it. What's the big deal? Pay $60 rent on it. Take it for one day. Take it for a drive. Take some selfies. Take some pictures. Pictures that you can paste on your laptop. Pictures you can paste on your phone. What feeling you're going to get? Remember, feeling is the secret. What is the feeling? Taste, touch, smell, sound. These are the feelings. So when you create that feeling within inside you, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen to that person who gets those feelings? You just got to think about it. The person who gets those feelings is the one that's going to the moon. The one who doesn't get those feelings is going to stay right here on the ground. That's the difference. That's why it's very important to see the right videos, to give yourself the right information. I removed every news channel from my telephone. Every news channel that I had on there, Al Jazeera, French press, and then there was was the Iranian press, and then I had some other Arab news. I removed every one of them. Sky News, the whole works. I just deleted all of them. That's been over a week now. And I've had not a single news item coming into my inbox telling me somebody died over there and there was a car crash here and somebody fell off a bridge over there. I don't need to hear those things. I don't want to corrupt, I don't want to put garbage inside my brain. I only want to put good things in my head. Things that generate my life and enhance my life. I saw a house on the internet. There's a colony over here, like a housing colony. I saw a house over there. It's like a city within a city. And the house over there are very expensive. And they have their own electricity, their own water, their own everything. If they shut the gate, they can operate their city within the city, like a garrison without a problem. They have enough food in there to last them maybe 2-3 months. So I said to my friend, I want to go and see that city. I want to go and see those houses, those big expensive houses. I want to go see them. I want to see what they look like. And he said, okay, no problem. So he took me in the car. We went to that city, real expensive place. They got guards everywhere, machine guns everywhere. There's guards posted almost every corner. And we went inside. They let us go, no problem. We're in a car. They don't stop you if you go in a car, but they'll stop you if you're in a motorcycle or if you're in a three-wheeler. They'll stop you and say, what are you doing over here? Anyway, they didn't stop us. We went straight through and we drove around that city. Beautiful roads, immaculate roads. And I tell you that the gates of those houses, I'm telling you, I was so impressed by the gates of those houses. Beautiful, beautiful gates. Big gated properties. And these houses were like 5,000 square foot, 7,000 square foot, 10,000 square foot. And I was saying to my friend, you know what? This is a place that we should have had a house in. This is a place that person should aspire to buy a house. Because the electricity never goes out in that place. The electricity may go out in the rest of the city. They might do load shedding and shut down the electric for 6 hours. But in that city, you're not allowed to do that. You cannot shut down the electricity. Their water is 24 hours constant. Their electricity is constant. They got malls, they got banks, everything within that place. And I was saying to him, this is like it's like a garrison town. It's a town within a town. He said, yeah. And it was fairly big. And I said to him, you know what? I'm going to set my sight on a house in that city. I'm going to set my sight. I want to take some pictures. I want to touch these houses. I want to take some pictures. I want to put them on my laptop. And that's what I'm going to keep in my visualization. I want to keep those houses in my vision. So in the future, when the finance comes, the house will also come. And so I did that. I took some nice pictures and I brought them back, put them on my laptop so I can look at them. And yeah, absolutely immaculate. I saw a house, $700,000 house over there. Beautiful, beautiful house. It's just immaculate. Big gardens, beautiful garages, and it's just amazing. And I was like, wow, this is wonderful. This is great. And this is what I need to see. Because this is the kind of information I want to put inside me. I don't put all that garbage inside me. Oh, that bus crashed over there and 3 people were killed over there and, 1 boy shot 9 students. I don't want all that garbage. I only want good stuff to come to me and I only want to deal with the good stuff. This is why I recommend to you, stop listening to news. News is full of garbage. News 9 times out of 10 is garbage. In the old days when I was in America, I used to look at the headlines, but I even stopped looking at the headlines now. I don't even bother with the headlines. I don't need to see them because they don't give you nothing. They only make you one step back. You take one step back. And when I look at the people in this city, and when I look at the rich people in this city, and my goodness, there are some amazing rich people in this city, what they've done, the architectures they have built, and the businesses they have established. You're gonna say, wow, and these people don't fit into any, they're not on your Forbes list. The people in this country are rich. Nobody even hears about them, but they are rich. You go to see their cars, you go to see their homes, You got to see their businesses, amazing businesses they built around their, system, around their wealth. Just amazing businesses. And I'm so happy to see it. I'm like, this is great. This is great. This is great input for me. I love it. I want to see it. It's like short circuit. Give me all the input. Input, more input. Put all the input in me, so I can get all the good images in myself. Great images. I can look at them every day. And here is the secret. Here is the secret to manifesting a nice place. The secret is not that you continue to repeat it and you continue to speak it and you continue to get it. That is not the secret. Yes, there's a technique of scripting where you speak it and it comes in its timeline. The secret is this. This is the secret that I acquired from the Himalayas. Himalayas is not far from where I am. You know what they do in the Himalayas? They sit outside on the sun. And they sit down in the morning and they watch the sun rise. And I used to do that in Ohio. I used to go outside when the sun used to rise and I used to face the sun. Close my eyes and face the sun. And in Himalayas they do that. They sit in front of the sunshine. The sun comes up. They close their eyes and they look at the sun. So the sun shines directly on their third eye. Then what they do, as the sun settles, these people, then they create an image or whatever they're trying to manifest. They need an image, a very, very clear image. This is why I wanted to go to that site. I wanted to go to that rich place and get an image because I didn't have no images, didn't have no pictures. So I said, I want to go there. I want to capture an image, a clear image on my camera that I can use. So what you do with that image, you bring that image into your third eye. And you leave it in your third eye. You focus it in your third eye. And you continue to look at that image in your third eye area. And what that does is that powers that image and that brings it closer to your reality. Now, it doesn't mean that the image will come in your life in one day, but you already have put the roadmap. In other words, you already started to build a bridge. You're not there yet. But you're building a bridge. Your bridge is built and then God will do the rest for you. The road, the road to get there, the finances to get that property, or whatever it is that you're trying to maintain, you will get it. I spoke to a woman over here and there's a rich place in the city I was born, and the woman goes to me, she said to me that there's a building over here, big plaza. And she said, I've been passing it for 30 years. And, the woman is about 45 years age. She said, I've been passing it for 30 years. And I always look at this, this building. And I want to have that building. Now, she is no rich woman. She's a very normal, down-to-earth, I would say even mediocre. She don't even do a job. Very down-to-earth family, not even middle class. Just very regular. And I said to her, here is the way you're going to get that building. I related the story of Neville Goddard, where Neville Goddard spoke about this man who wanted to get this building, and he looked at that building for 2 years with his name on it. And then 2 years later, a man comes and he says to him, I want to do business in town. I hear that you're a good businessman, and I'll give you the money. You buy the building, you run the business. And, I'll just be your backer and you will be the one doing everything. So get the building. So he got that building. He did it for 2 years. Every time he would pass in his car, he would look at this building with his name on it. And then after 2 years, he got the building. He ran it into a business. Eventually, the way the story winded, as Neville said, was that he ended up selling that building to some bank for $800,000. Back then, talking about the 50s. So he made a lot of money out of that. So I said to the woman, there was a story in America about this man who wanted to get a building, and this is how he did it. So I said, what you need to do is whenever you pass that building, that plaza, I said, you look at that plaza and you see a name on it. Whatever name you want to put on there, whether it's your name, whether it's your son's name, or whether it's a relative's name, whoever, maybe your son's name. I said, let's say you take your son's name, and every time you pass that building, I said, get a picture of it. If you can, get a picture. And put the picture, print it out. And see your son's name on it. And if you can't do that, then, every time you pass it by, whenever you go shopping or something, you'll pass it by, and you stop for a second. And you look at that big plaza, and you see your name on it, your son's name or your name. And I said, you will get that building. I said, don't worry about the finance, where it comes from. The finance may come from completely somewhere that you don't even expect. But once you have got that image, clarity, once you got the clarity in your third eye, the image will come to you. You don't have to go to the image. And by the way, this technique people don't teach, because this is a Himalayan technique of the Buddhist monks. They do that. They teach it, but they only teach it to their people in the monasteries. So what they do, they sit in front of the sun in the morning, they do their meditation, they allow the sun to come up upon them, and when the sun comes up, they then bring a clear image. Because in order to manifest anything, you must have a very clear image in your third eye. And they say is that when you bring that clear image in your third eye, and you hold it there, you don't just let it disappear, you hold it there. You hold it, you continue to look at it in your third eye. Maybe for 2 minutes, you hold it. And then you divert your attention from the third eye, and maybe you divert your attention and see if you can still bring that image back into your third eye after 2 minutes. You look at it, you let it go, then you bring it back. Is it coming back? Is it clear? And if it is clear, then you are moving towards it. Your body, your systems, everything that you are as a person, your I am is now got a fix on it. It's like getting a fix with an Exocet missile. You're going to fire a missile and you're going to destroy a target. That's how you get a fix on an image. Once you got a fix on an image and you continue to stare at it with your eyes closed in your third eye, then the more you stare at it, the more you hold that image, the more closer it comes to you. Now I explained to her, I said, the only thing you need to do, once you have a fix on that image, that building, whatever that building's name is, I don't know, I didn't see it. So whatever that building is called, I said, you simply your sister will phone you, and your sister will say, congratulations, I heard that you acquired that big plaza. And you say, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, I have acquired that big plaza. Now, she's working on that exercise. By the way, she's working on it. Because the last time I spoke to her, and I asked her, I said, well, how is that exercise coming along with the big plaza? She said, I'm working on it. I'm doing exactly what you told me. I'm, bringing it to my vision. I'm then seeing the name on it, my son's name, and I'm seeing that I'm the owner, and I'm seeing that people are congratulating me. I said, that's exactly where you need to be. I said, the more clear you can make it, the more focused you can be at the end result, the better you're going to bring it into your reality. And I said, as for money, I said, well, a rich person could come into town. You could say to your son, hey, I want to do some business over there. I want to use you, and you're going to look after this building. I'm going to put it in your name. I said, this is how it's going to happen. This could be one way it could happen. One way it could happen is your son does a business, and this man could come in and say, hey, I want to use you to, I want to invest my money. I'm from outside. I don't live in the city, and I'm going to buy this building. You can put whatever name you want on it, but you're going to be my front man. You're going to be my front man to run this business. And I said, that's how it's likely to work out. But I said, the important part, you must believe in it. If you believe in it, and you use your senses, your 5 senses, your touch, your sound, your hearing, if you do use those senses, there is absolutely no way that you cannot acquire this building. I said, I could write it down for you that you'll acquire that building. And she said, I'll definitely do it. And she's doing that. She's practicing. So we'll see, how long that takes. But coming back to the reincarnation, I was reading a passage earlier, and I saw a very clear passage of reincarnation where Jesus speaks. And this is something that Christianity is not really clear on. And he says this. Jesus says in the book of John, chapter 3, verse 13, no one has ever gone into heaven except the one who came from heaven, the Son of Man. Now listen to this very carefully. When you go to a church, a building, a religious building, you're always told that you go to heaven when you die. Okay? What does Jesus say over here? Jesus says that no one ever went into heaven. Somebody's telling a lie, right? Either Jesus is lying or the people today are lying that tell you that you can go into heaven. But Jesus wasn't lying. Jesus was stating the facts on the ground. Jesus said no one has ever gone into heaven except the Son of Man. Meaning that those that are ascended, those that have descended, the same have ascended. So this is a clear reference to reincarnation in the New Testament. Jesus has very clearly stated that you are not going to some man-made heaven. That you, when you pass on, you're going to come back. Because he said no one goes to heaven. So where do you go? Well, you go up into the skies, you meet your angel guides, and they send you back. You don't stay there. You don't say, well, let me have dinner with my grandmother. They're not going to give you time to have dinner with your grandmother. They're going to tell you that, you got a mission to do. We're going to send you back, and you're going back to the earth. So the only person that has ascended is the one that descended. Because it says the only people that ascended are the ones that descended. Meaning, your soul descended first and then ascended and is going to come back. That's a cycle. That cycle will continue. But the way Christian churches today portray this, they make it sound like you'll die, you'll go to some place up there. But that's not what Jesus said. Jesus of Nazareth did not say that you will die and go to some place up there and live there for the rest of your life. He said no one has gone into heaven. Well, if no one has gone into heaven, then somebody over here is telling fibs. So this is why it's important to understand that we're in a cycle. We are cycling, and many of us may have been born before, in reincarnations. We don't know whether we've had already 10 lives, 20 lives, 50 lives. We just don't know those information. But what we do know is that souls circulate back and forth. And whatever mission that you're on, if you don't fulfill that mission, when you come back, you will fulfill it then. Now, of course, you'll have to start from scratch. You may be the same person starting from scratch, and maybe you go to 20 years to a church, and then you realize, oh, that's not the place I want to go. So, and you're not going to come back with the same face. Your face is going to be different, your body is going to be different, but the soul is the same. It's what's called a reset soul. So you're going to come back in a reset soul, and you're going to restart your life. So this idea that you got to be fearful of hell, or you got to be the interpretation, about, oh, am I going to go to heaven? Oh, am I going to go to paradise? None of that is necessary. All that is necessary is that God is working through you on this earth, and you got to fulfill your desires that God has put in you. That you as a person will fulfill your desires through God that works in you. And you can get all your desires. And when you meet all your desires, that's automatic heaven. Think about it. If you had everything in this earth today, you had money, you had happiness, you had a happy family, you had a nice home, you had a vehicle, some money in the bank, you're a happy man, happy woman. What would you care about heaven? Why would you be worried about a fictitious heaven where you want to go? You're already in heaven. You're already in heaven over here. And you will die the most peaceful man. When your time comes, you will die the most peaceful death. And because you're coming back. You're not going nowhere. You know that. When you have that information, that is so empowering. You're no longer fearful of death. A lot of people in this world are fearful of death, but you will not be fearful of death. You will be happy that you accomplished your mission, you've done good for your children, for your family, you can go in peace and you can come back in peace. Remember the phrase shalom, shalom. In Hebrew, we use the phrase shalom, shalom to somebody. Now, we don't always say shalom. Maybe sometimes, some people might say it in a shortcut way, but mostly they will say shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom means that I will see you again. I will see you again. That means even if you are dead, I will see you again. Therefore, shalom, shalom. Go in peace, come back in peace. So the angels, God, everybody, God works through us. God creates the world through us, because the world that is now being created, things that we invent are being invented through us. Everything that you see, everything is imagination. Everything. The iPhone is imagination. The laptop that I use is imagination. The hat that I wear is imagination. Everything that you see, the houses that you build are built from imagination. There's no blueprint. The blueprint is imagination. You decide the blueprint. The day you master your blueprint, that day you'll be producing like hot potatoes. You'll be like no man's, no sweat. It's easy. I can do this. I've got it. You won't be worried about everything that happens around you. So it's very important to always remember that you have been given certain authority. In fact, God tells you that He's given you all the authority above animals. He says you have dominion over animals and over the earth. Well, then what's the problem? The problem is your limiting beliefs. The problem is your parents who didn't know, who were not as clued up, and they taught you religion, and religion put chains around your neck, and you're stuck with that. Now you got to get those chains out. Torah itself is very clear. Torah is freedom, and Torah is black and white. Torah doesn't put any restrictions on you. Torah doesn't tell you that you're going to go to hell. Torah doesn't tell you you're going to go to heaven. Torah tells you that if you do right, and right means what? Follow your imagination. It says if you do right, you will get everything you want. You will be blessed. Majority of the people in our world today that are not blessed are those people that have accepted for themselves failure. Those people that accept failure for themselves, you and I cannot change their path because they themselves have accepted failure. They're also I ams. They're also part of God. They're also creation of God. But if they already told themselves that they are a failure, then that shall be true for them. And if you accepted that you are a success and you are a victor, then you shall be a victor and you shall be a success because you have accepted that for yourself. So with that, I'm going to leave you to think about these things because these are very powerful concepts and they are very, very powerful concepts. And I'll be driving that car, by the way, in a couple of days, that $70,000 car. I'll be going through the city with that, get a little feel of it. But I'm looking forward to that. Why? Because as I told you, just like Mr. Trump said, that's the one thing, I really like what he said. Unless you sit in the seat of the first class, you will not know what a first class is like. Unless you sit in a Mercedes, you will not know what it's like to be in a Mercedes. So the worst thing that can happen, a $70,000 car is in my access. I can get hold of it and I can have a ride in it. I can even drive it myself and he won't say nothing. Because, the man, right, the boss of my friend, he really admires me. He's really good with me. And he always, looks out for me. He always talks about me. And he always tells his employee, he says, look after your boss. He says, look after him. He's a good man, take care of him. And so My point is this, that always, there's no worse thing that you can do. Get off your butt. Stop whining and complaining all the time and about this and that and the other baloney. Just get off your butt. If you want a nice car in your life, just go to a garage, sit in it for a minute. Sit in it for 3-4 minutes. Ask the showroom people, I just want to sit in the car. I'm looking to buy it. You don't have to have no money to buy it. Just tell them that I'm thinking about buying this car. Can I sit in it? They won't stop you. They say, sure, sit in it. You can go and sit in that car, get a good feel of it. Get a good feel of the leather. Get a good feel of the steering. Get a fix on it. Remember I told you, image. Build the image in your head and you come back with it. Think how powerful you're going to be after that. Think how closer you're going to get to that car after that. But if you just sit on your sofa and complaining all the time and whining and, I can't do it, I can't be bothered, that car's not coming. That car's not coming till you go to that car. So you are drawing the object towards you and you got to go and test. You got to go and sit in. You got to go and sit in that object. Then you can draw it towards you. If you don't sit in it, you're not going to draw it towards you. Heck, think about it. When did I ever think about, taking water from a golden tap? It's the only time I thought about it is when I saw those, sheikhs in Dubai and Saudi Arabia and other places, they're showing those beautiful taps and, bathrooms with, gold and all that. And I thought, well, you know what? That's right out of the movies for me. It really is. Right out of the movies. And it can't be any better than that. I'll actually touch one and I'll feel it and I will then tell you what the feeling is like. That only happened because of me watching those videos. My mind got a fix on those things. And when your mind gets a fix on those things, they're going to come into your reality. Nothing can stop that happening. One way or the other, they're going to come into your reality. Now, what happens if you keep watching videos where they're showing you carnage? Car crashing with another car, a bus colliding, a bus falling off a bridge. What do you think is going to happen in your life? Think very carefully. This is why you want to remove all kinds of media that takes you away from your desire. Remove all kinds of media from YouTube that takes you away from your desire. And put all kinds of media that draws you closer to your desire. Get a very clear fix on what you want. Very clear fix. If it's a vehicle, if it's a house, get a fix on it. Bring it into your third eye. Hold it. Hold that vision for 2-3 minutes. And the more you hold it, the more energy you're giving it. And the more closer it comes to you. And then God does the rest. And before you know it, you're going to be the owner of a nice, beautiful house, maybe a nice, beautiful car, and your family is going to be proud of you. Baruch Hashem. What's better than that? Have a great, wonderful Shabbat and a great, wonderful weekend. Todah, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.